What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Another Friday, another episode of Why Are We Bullish? Damn, we got a killer panel this week. It's going to be exciting. I hope you're amped. I hope you've got a beverage ready, and I hope you're strapped in because I have a feeling this should be a pretty solid one. Anyways, hope you guys are all having a good week. It's been an exciting one. We're seeing lots of stuff happening. I'm back home from some travels. I'm gonna be chatting a little bit about that later on in the show. But yeah, let's just dive into it. Of course, this is live. Anything can happen. So I defer to my friend Bill here.
Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
If you have not already, please do like, subscribe, share, all those things. They help a ton getting this content in front of more eyeballs. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.
Before we bring in our guests, let's take a quick look at where we are in the market right now. I am pulling up timechaincalendar.com. If I can get it up here. There we go. We are currently sitting at $69,363 per coin. A single US dollar will grab you 1,442 sats. In terms of fees, looks like 4 sats per byte next block. And in terms of Bitcoin mined, we're sitting at 19.77 million. That's 94.17% of the total supply. We're going to give a quick shout out to sponsors of the show, and we're going to get our guests right in. We'll see you in 1 minute. Bitcoin Well is on a mission to enable independence by being one of the easiest and quickest ways to purchase Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And the best part about it, every buy goes directly into your own self-custody. They never hold your coins. You can add a Bitcoin address as part of onboarding. There's a transparent 1% spread, no hidden fees, no withdrawal fees. Plus they have KYC free sells and bill payments on their website. They're also a publicly traded company under the ticker BTCW on the TSXV. Check them out over at bitcoinwell.com. Check out my full tutorial on how to use them, and you can check out the links in the show notes down below and sign up today. CoinKite.com has some of the best hardware on the market today to secure your Bitcoin. The Cold Card Q is an absolute powerhouse and is my daily driver. And on top of this, they have plenty of other goodies, including the Mark IV, the Tap Signer, Open Dimes, the Block Clock, and much more. If you head over to their website, make sure you use code BTC Sessions at checkout to get a nice discount. Links are in the show notes down below. All right, we are back in, and we're going to bring in our guests here. Let me get situated. I'm learning that they changed the whole back end of Restream, so we're going to bring everybody in. But I want to welcome to the stage Dr. Bitcoin, Erik Cason, and MADEX. Gentlemen, good to see you. Thank you for being here. I'm very excited for this group. I'm going to give you a little bit of context as to this grouping of people. I had my guy in the background, of course, wrangling MADEX here, getting him on a show. And he's like, I'm not going to be on that show if the guests fucking suck. So he basically made sure that this panel happened. And so it's an aggregation of not sucking here on the show today. So hat tip to MADEX for that. But let's go around the room and let's do a quick round of intros for anybody that may be unfamiliar. Dr. Bitcoin, I'm going to toss it to you. Can you give yourself a quick intro for anybody unfamiliar?
Sure. Most of you guys know me as Dr. Bitcoin. My name is Armand. I'm actually the founder and CEO of Timestamp. But we'll talk about that, I'm sure, as the show goes on. Nice to see all you guys.
Hell yeah. Well, welcome. Glad to have you. And I'll toss it down to Erik next. Dude, good to see you virtually. It's been some time since I saw you in person, but glad to have you here. Can you give yourself an intro for anybody unfamiliar?
Sure. My name's Erik Cason. I'm a crazy person that's been in Bitcoin for a long time, and I wrote an insane book called Crypto Sovereignty that I was reading some passages from it, and I was like, holy shit, this is like really heavy, man. So I was like, I can't believe I published that. So if you want your dosage of good and insane content, please feel free to try to find my book.
Awesome. Can confirm, crazy person, absolutely. But we had a good. I introduced my wife to you we would have met in LA for Pacific in 2023, and you had some good ranting out in the cocktail area of whatever the venue was that we're in. But it was a good.
Sorry to embarrass you. Sorry.
No. It was good. I was like, oh, you got to meet this guy. He's gonna knock your socks off. She came into the conversation, was like, wow. So yeah.
And I'm glad you let me go first. There was no way I was going to top that intro.
Well, it was great. I mean, we were stumbling into that venue as well, a few cocktails deep, and not nearly as well dressed as the rest of the clientele that were there too. So it was nice to have a crazy person talk out in the lobby while everybody else were upstanding individuals in the other room. So yeah. But let's toss it down the line one final time to MADEX. Dude, good to see you. We just saw each other in person like less than a week ago, but glad to have you virtually here. Give yourself an intro for anybody that doesn't know.
Thank you, Ben. I am the creator of MADEX and the creative director of Bull Bitcoin. And I am making regalia for Bitcoiners and fine art, and ensuring that Bull Bitcoin is visually an excellent brand, that its visuals can honor the insane engineering work that the whole team at Bull Bitcoin does, and that's what keeps me busy.
Hell yeah! Glad to have you. I'm sporting my latest acquisition, and actually, I forgot. I got a little light for the swag that I got on my wall here, so I just gotta.
Awesome.
There we go. Gotta light it up a little bit. Well, dude, good to have you. Everybody, good to have you. And we're just gonna roll with it. We're gonna get started here. So everybody watching, of course, thanks for being here. If you're first time viewer of the show, this is Why Are We Bullish? Very simple premise to the show. Each guest here, myself included, all come with a reason for being bullish. And this can take any form that we like, something that we're excited about in and around Bitcoin. And so the flow of the show is, number one, somebody's going to drop their reason for being bullish. This is a chance to rant on whatever they're currently excited or buzzing about. Number two, all together, we're going to riff on that reason. Whatever rabbit holes we decide to go down is fair game. And then number three, as soon as we put a bow on that topic and it wraps up, we're going to rotate to the next person until we've all had a turn. So reason, riff, rotate, simple. Number one thing to avoid, don't drop your reason for being bullish early. You can allude to it, but you just don't want to get to that awkward thing they ask you and you've already kind of blown your load early. So yeah, be cautious around that. Other than that, we're going to get started. So I'm actually very excited because my reason this week is I've been traveling a lot this year, which I'm very grateful for. I'm very thankful that I've been able to globetrot and see other Bitcoiners and have all these wonderful experiences. But when you're away a lot, it can prevent you from doing some of the stuff that you're also passionate about. And so I've been, I'm still pumping out videos and I love educating people and creating resources for people to level up as Bitcoiners. But that can be tough when you're on the road. And so oftentimes when I'm traveling a lot, I'll default to kind of simpler things that I can cover that might help some newcomers and everything like that, or, some new wallet that I want to try out. But when I'm home, I feel like I can really get into my element and cover shit that is a little bit more of a deep dive. And so I've just returned home from Lugano Plan B, which was a lot of fun. It was awesome. I had a lot of good times there. And all the previous events through the rest of the year. But I just got home and I basically said no to every piece of travel for the next 4 months. And so now I'm like back and I'm ready to fucking go. I'm ready to just let loose on all these things that I've been wanting to cover and try out and do. And so I'm already feeling a little bit of that. I kind of started it prior to Lugano by undertaking something that was a little tricky that I had never done before. But I'm just more or less, I'm just going to rant a little bit on some of the shit that I want to do in the next 4 months that I'm excited about. And then we'll just, you know, if anything comes from that, then great. But I'm gonna share a screen here because I just pulled up a few things that I'm excited about. So I'm like halfway through this. Somebody forked Samurai Wallet. And one of the issues with Samurai Wallet before is if you were using it and you weren't using your own dojo, you'd leak your XPub, and that's not fucking good. They said they weren't collecting it, but you can't be sure unless you're just running your own shit. This fork requires you to run your own dojo, so there's no leakage of information. So I just did the video on using like a mini PC and creating your own dojo. And now I'm in the midst of creating the next video, the follow-up, which is how's the wallet work alongside that. So that's one of the things I'm working on. But another big thing I'm excited about, BTC Pay just released version 2.0. And so I'm about to do a series of videos based upon this. I knew that this was coming. And so I was waiting for 2.0 to do an overhaul on my BTC Pay tutorial. So I'm going to do a full video on that. I think I'm going to host it via Lunanode because they have all the special plugins and all the cool shit that you can do with it. And then after I do that tutorial, then I want to do a video on the Bitcoinized machine that you can pair with BTC Pay. So if you're an in-person, like brick and mortar merchant, then you can link it to your own BTC Pay and start using it that way. They did that in Madeira. It was really cool. And one of the other things that they did at the Madeira conference is they used the BTC Pay and Bitcoinized terminals to on the spot create Bolt cards, which are tap to pay Lightning cards. And so I'm basically going to make a 3-part series: how to set up BTC Pay, how to use the Bitcoinized point of sale machine with BTC Pay, and then how to use both those things to create Bolt cards. So that's on the docket for me. I've also been dicking around with some of the hobbyist home mining things, which you're not going to make a profit, but for curiosity's sake and just like learning how miners work, and I suppose having a little bit of like a forever lottery ticket on your shelf, that's just a good talking point. I covered like the BitAxe and the NerdAxe and stuff like that. I've also got the Future Bit sitting on the table in front of me that I'm going to cover, which is kind of cool. It's a miner, but it's also like a full node, so you can connect wallets and stuff to it. I'm also looking at this 22 devices thing. It's like an NFC hardware wallet. Rodolfo actually mentioned it in a tweet, and you know he's a pretty skeptical individual, but he said, "Oh, this is actually a cool idea." The hardware thing, actually, it's NFC, but it has a screen, and it actually uses your phone to power the device itself. So it has no batteries or anything. It just pulls power from the phone as you hold it to the back. So I'm curious to play around with that. That's exciting. And then I've had this damn stamp seed thing. It's like this industrial grade seed stamper sitting on my shelf here for ages. The thing is loud as shit when you run it, but it also beautifully stamps your backup perfectly. It'll have like a full XPub. It'll have like your seed words on the other side, just like nicely stamped into steel. And then you can securely store it. And you can also do multisig. So you could create a multisig wallet where there's like 3 plates, and it splits up the XPub for that in a way where even the XPub is a 2 of 3. So if somebody gets 1 plate, they can't even see the full balance. They just see like a portion of the XPub. So really, as long as you have 2 plates, you're good to go. You don't need like 2 keys and the descriptor file. So anyways, those that are listening that kind of understand the intricacies of multisig and what you have to back up, it's a pretty unique way of doing it. So the long and the short of it is I've got so much cool shit to go through and cover and make videos on, and the list is ever growing. And that's a wonderful problem to have, because not only is it just exciting and fun, but it means that people continue to build and innovate and make cool shit for Bitcoiners to use. And there's more options than ever before. One of the first things people asked me when I started the channel was, are you ever worried you're just going to run out of stuff to cover? The answer is no. And the answer is that there's so many cool products and services and devices and pieces of software coming out that it's growing faster than I could ever hope to keep up. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm excited about. And I guess in general, I'm going to open it up to just some discussion around kind of where we're at with the tools and the stuff that's out there right now, and any little rabbit holes we want to take it down before we rotate. So I don't know, gentlemen, do you have any thoughts in and around there? Is there anything that stuck out to you, or is there any general takeaways from me just rambling on and on like that?
Makers making,
Yeah.
which is the best thing we can hope for from this Bitcoin project. People with the ability to creating. So it's great to see, and more evidence of how far we've come in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. There's there's so much going on. There's always so much going on. I've got like, I don't know, my office is like a museum for just random inventions of Bitcoiners past and present, and I guess future. So I don't know, other gents, if you want to chime in here as well.
Yeah, I mean, the pace of development at this point in time is pretty crazy. And like, I get this weird dualism of on one side, like it's deeply inspirational and kind of has me want to lean in more. And on the other side, there's this part where it's like, well, like I'm a drop in the ocean of what's occurring now. So like, even if I'm like exhausted or tired and just need to like, I was just on like a 2-week fishing trip where I just tried to check out for a while. I wasn't as successful as I wanted to be, but it was just nice to come back and see like everything's still popping. Yeah, and also just I had a great call last week with Max Hilbrand. We just talked for a while rapping, and he was just like, the pace of development in cryptography is going so fast, and he introduced a number of really amazing technologies that are about to premiere that had me really be like, wow, like I like stopped in the middle of it all. I was like, as cypherpunks, like we're actually winning, and like the state is coming down hard on us right now. But even with that, the sly roundabout way of deploying cryptography that is free and open source software is reaching an apex, so that a lot of people who wouldn't have thought about it or had it in their sphere are now doing that. So it's really exciting and cool just to see the plethora of tools that are being developed and premiering.
Yeah. I love Max is a great guy. He's such like when you chat with him, he's a very like warm person to talk to, but also there's like a fire under his ass the whole time too. He's just like, you can just see him like just like beaming with excitement about what is being built. I'll also say that I've enjoyed watching it going from, I was a little dismayed and a little sad about, some of the stuff that happened around Wasabi over the years, and like the preemptive, like on-chain analysis and stuff like that. And then all for naught because they had to sunset their coordinator. But the cool thing that came out of that is that now we're just seeing random coordinators pop up in the wild. And it's kind of like, fuck you, just sub in a new CoinJoin coordinator. And so we've gone from, like the Napster of Bitcoin privacy to more of like a BitTorrent kind of whack-a-mole. Well, okay, shut down this one. Well, kick-ass torrents over here is running, and the Pirate Bay over part 2, part 3, part 17 is running over here. So it's just, it's a lot harder to pin down. So, out of my disappointment has come a much more pleasant demeanor. So yeah, anyways. Yeah. Dr. Bitcoin, I'm curious if you have anything to say in and around, again, things that are being built, tools that at your disposal and everybody else's disposal. Where are you at?
So I'm going to take a different perspective on this because a few years ago, I was working in medicine and academia, and the world went crazy. We saw a lot of the issues with poor incentive structures at the core of a lot of our society. And so, it was at that point I decided I needed to take a break. And what I did was I actually dropped everything and moved to Texas, moved to Austin in particular, and I got to hang out with a bunch of Bitcoiners. And what I realized was all those things that you mentioned, you brought up, the people building those are really, really inspirational. These are people that decided to leave their fiat careers or, work all these extra hours on the side to build something they truly believe in. This is what they love to do. And so having the opportunity to work with these founders and these want to be founders in the future that have dedicated their life to building the Bitcoin standard has been inspirational for me and has given me a new appreciation for all the infrastructure that's being built around the core of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I would fully echo that. Like there's so much brain power. Again, one of the great things to be bullish about is the Bitcoin brain drain, right? People are leaving their jobs in careers that they have tailored their lives to obtain, and they're saying, no, this is more important. I need to be here instead. And that's huge. I mean, you're one of those people, right?
Listen, I left a very, very cushy career in medicine to build on Bitcoin. My CFO left a very cushy career in the hedge fund world to build on Bitcoin. And what's interesting is that's actually not too uncommon. You'll find a lot of Bitcoiners that you meet at conferences, at events, at meetups that say, hey, I used to be X, Y, and Z, and now I just work on Bitcoin, or I want to work on Bitcoin. And it's a little bit jarring if you're not in this space and you really don't understand Bitcoin. It almost seems crazy. I think still most people in my life think I'm crazy, especially leaving medicine of all things to work on Bitcoin. But when you start talking to people within the space, there is this energy about it, and there's this collaborative effort to build something that's meaningful and valuable that can last for generations.
It supercharges everything. There is just, if you're in pursuit of meaning and your life having some kind of value, Bitcoin is the greatest place to land and start to get to work, because there's few things as important, because as we all know, that solving this problem enables all other areas to begin thriving and resets the incentives so that every other obstacle that an individual would want to take on, it's that much easier and that much better supported. Mm-hmm. So it just trumps everything else. And I think that selects for a very specific sort of character, sort of individual that really wants the effort of their life to have some sort of impact. And Bitcoin in its early days is just selecting for that. And I think that's definitely the reason we have such a strong team across all the areas, from the hardware guys, software guys, to the creative side of things, to all the aspects of finance and all the aspects of philosophy and literature. It's just everyone who's playing a part right now is the ones who want to ding the universe, as Job said. And this is our best shot of doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's more than that. We're not just like, it's being created right now. And like this is really, really important shit that generations from now, people go, holy shit. Like people, like they were coming down with like mass global surveillance, and people actually like fought back meaningfully and fucking won, and the thing that I see more and more is like people are absolutely desperate for meaning and purpose in a world that's full of fucking nihilism. Like who the fuck cares if you have a job that pays you $1 million? If you have that $1 million in cuck bucks that you have to engage in a schizophrenic paranoia to try to protect, that's just going to evaporate at the end of the day. It leaves you feeling absolutely fucking hopeless. And when somebody steps forward and goes, hey, I got this crazy magic internet money that was developed by some anon more than 16 years ago, and it's actually changing the world in a meaningful way, and you can actually save your money. And you can see that with the number go up, but it's not so much about number go up. It's that everything else does not go down anymore. And you actually give a fuck enough about yourself, your family, and your community that you say, I'm not going to tolerate some federal government that fucking hates me and hates my family and hates my community and wants to steal from us in order to serve them as their fucking slaves. So I get at the end of my life and I feel like I haven't accomplished anything. And so more than anything, what inspires me is seeing others that really understand that we're at hands to engage in what I can only call glorious, of that, like, we want to achieve a future that's for us and for our posterity in a meaningful way that is outside and beyond the control of these fucking snakes that want to steal from us in order to hurt other people so that they can perpetuate this fucked up system that I want nothing to do with. So I'm bullish as fuck in seeing real, meaningful, powerful, thoughtful individuals come forward and participate in a meaningful way to put all this together. It's really, really fucking inspirational.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to take up too much time with my topic here, but just to kind of cap it off, I'll also just add in one thing that along with us siphoning talent away from fiat land into Bitcoin land, there's also just directionally fiat basically incentivizes people to do less and less and create more and more inferior products over time. And what I've seen, even just from anecdotally from having done tutorials over the past 8 years, let's talk hardware. I remember when the first time somebody was like, hey, can we send you a device for free to try out and like make a video? And I got so excited. And then I started getting more people saying, oh, like, we'll send you something. We'll send it. And so I just blanket said yes to everything. I was like, yeah, absolutely. We'll, you send me your hardware. I'm stoked to have it. And my mistake, I ended up with just a mountain of shitty devices sitting in my office, just horrible hardware devices, to the point where I was like, I don't even want to make videos on most of this shit. And even most of them, like if I just left it, they just didn't say anything, or the company would disappear or whatever. I did get one company that was like, hey, we sent you a thing. Are you going to do a video? And I was like, listen, I tried your device. Here's the list of things that I really didn't like about it. It's long. And I listed off all the problems, everything that I encountered. And I was like, so I didn't do a video because I felt bad that you sent me something for free. So your choice. Either I can make the video and say exactly what I just said to you, or I cannot make the video. They didn't reply. But the long and the short of it is, yeah. The long and the short of it is, though, this was years ago. This was 2017, 2018. Now, the demands of the market in Bitcoin have forced hardware producers to create higher quality, more versatile, and more robust devices for all of us. And so you see things that have been around for quite some time getting better. You see devices iterating and the market doing its thing through competition. And you see people striving to be better and create better things because their job is to convince people to part with their precious sats to obtain their products or services or whatever it may be. And so in fiat land, it doesn't quite have the same pull. People are just, I'll just shop whatever. I'll buy trinkety shit over at IKEA. I'll buy whatever. I'll buy this table. I'll replace it again in like a year or two. Who cares? It breaks. Just new shit. Throw it out. New shit. Bitcoiners I don't want the shit that's going to break and I'm going to replace. I want my friend to carve me an oak table that will still be standing if a tornado hit my house. Like, that's what I want. Exactly. I want all of the stuff that's going to not just last for my lifetime, but I want things that I can pass on to others that are resilient, because then to me, it feels like the sats were worth it. So this is kind of where I'm at with all these exciting things to cover. Yes, there's better software. Yes, there's better apps, but there's also better tangible hardware devices, products, art, apparel, all this stuff. People are getting better in Bitcoin land, and it started very fiat, right? Slap a B on it and you're good. It's changing now, but you're directionally we're headed in the we've got a North Star, and fiat land is just, it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah. The most difficult obstacle to that is that the markets are so used to fiat pricing, and many of them don't understand the difference in quality. The IKEA table that is engineered by IKEA to look like the hand-carved solid table, many people don't realize that there's a difference. So when they see a hand-carved table that's solid oak, they don't understand why it's so expensive, because to them, it does the exact same thing as the fiat piece of shit table from IKEA. And I think this is a big obstacle, which is why I've really been attempting to push Bitcoiners to spend sats on high quality stuff, to fund the people who are making stuff that's built to last. Because not enough people get it right now for companies to survive and for the prices to be reasonable. Because again, an item doesn't have to be fully hand carved for it to last 500 years or whatever the number is. It just has to be well made, well engineered, and well put together. And at a certain scale, that can become, it'll never be as cheap as shitty fiat, but it won't be $10,000 or $5,000. It can get to a pretty reasonable price point as long as there's a big enough market being supplied. We all know how that works, obviously, Henry Ford and so on. But this is, I've noted in Prague, I had some t-shirts that were silk screened in my studio here in Alberta, then shipped across the ocean to Prague. And they're silk screened with a silicon ink that will never, ever melt off ever or fade. And I'm competing with the fiat print shirt that's cost 20 bucks or even less, right? So, and that it's in everything. Like, that's just one example that I've had some funny experiences with lately. But we really have to, Bitcoiners really have to demand quality, seek out quality, and finance the quality, and convince whoever they're buying quality stuff from to accept the Bitcoin as payment. It's an investment in their longevity and their practice being there in the future, because all those businesses, no matter how good they are, if they don't accept the Bitcoin, odds they're going to be around still doing what they're doing over the next several years is much lower than if they do start to save, no matter how small that is.
Yeah, I just to your point, it's a time preference thing, right? Like when somebody goes to IKEA for their table and they say, "Oh, this does the same thing as the expensive oak table," it's because they're thinking to that evening. They're like, "This thing will be perfect to place my TV dinner on," whereas somebody buying the oak table is thinking, "This thing will
my
be
family
perfect.
will
Yeah,
my family will never have to buy a table ever again."
Yeah,
ever.
My great grandchildren will place a feast upon this for their extended family. Like that's the mentality. And same thing when it comes to apparel. You know, yeah, the person's going to buy the shitty fiat shirt. They're going to wear it at said conference, and then they're going to go home and wash it. It's going to be all wonky and shitty, and then they're never going to wear it again. Versus you want the person that at an event 10 years from now, they're wearing that shirt. It still looks great. And somebody's like, oh, where'd you get that? And they're like, oh, I bought it from MADEX a decade ago. and the print is still there, right? Like that's it. And it's, so that's going to take time for people to clue into that. That's not an easy transition. So
I do want to touch on this.
Go ahead.
I do want to touch on this a little bit. I'd say if I talk to myself in the first few years that I got into Bitcoin, I would be difficult to convince to spend my Bitcoin on practically anything. I was a psychopath about saving Bitcoin. I just saw the value proposition. Like, it's so clear there's such a big gap between my knowledge of what Bitcoin could be and everyone else's knowledge of what Bitcoin is. And so I was stacking like a maniac. And then I think something switched in me once I felt like I reached a comfortable state where I wanted to allocate my capital in a way that I felt like made an impact, a difference in the world. My decisions as a consumer will have an impact because I get to choose what I spend my sats on, and that will send a signal to the market. There are very few things I've spent my sats on. That's one of them. Why did I do that? Because I adopted a mentality where I didn't make a big purchase unless I felt like it's something I can pass down for generations. So when I looked at that, when I looked at original MADEX art, or when I looked at some high value craftsmanship, that's stuff I look at now that's worth spending my sats on. Anything else I consider part of the fiat world, and it's just in a different category for me. So it's a difference in mindset. I get it that a lot of people don't want to spend their sats. It's totally reasonable. I was in that place, and I still try to save as many sats as I can. But there comes a point where you're going to have to vote with your sats. And you want to make sure your vote counts. You want to support the craftsmen in art, the philosophers like Cason, the creators like Ben, and you want to make sure that you reward them for the value that they're producing in a currency like Bitcoin that signals to them that it is of the utmost value.
Yeah, I mean,
you have to have a meaningful life too, right? I mean, I think everybody goes through sort of the same cycle on their Bitcoin journey. Is in the beginning, it's just acquire as many as possible. And then after that, you realize, like, for example, if all I ever did was HODL, I would be unfathomably exponentially wealthier than I am now. But I would not be on Ben's show. That there would not be a painting there. None of it would exist. I would have never met any of the people I've met around the world. I would have never been to any of those events. I wouldn't have been in Lugano. I wouldn't have. There would just be no MADEX. But I would be fucking rich as fuck. And then what? What do I do with that? Mm-hmm. I mean, unless I think no matter how much money you have, unless you have access and unless you have great friends, there's really not a point to it at all.
Also, slamming your dick in the door, buying stupid fiat shit with your Bitcoin is like a great lesson. Like I literally bought in 2014, like a hanging air dryer that is now long gone, that I spent way too much Bitcoin on, because there was a narrative early on. I was like, spend your Bitcoin, support the no, that was that. So anyways, my point is like, you know, feel free to fuck up. And when you look at that burn later on, you'll be like, Jesus Christ, like, should I actually spend my Bitcoin on, you know, this garbage here, or should I be thoughtful about it in the future? So it's all part of the cycle. So I just think it's important that people know that, you know, you will probably buy dumb shit with your Bitcoin at some point in time that will teach you to value your Bitcoin more.
You will for sure. And I mean, I think that's a good way to maybe put a bow on this topic. But before we do, we're gonna just do a couple rules on bitcoinershit.net.
Oh no.
if you haven't seen this, we'll just click on it a couple times. So if you bought Bitcoin instead of stupid shit, you'd have, of course, it's in fiat terms, but that's okay. Let's take a
Wow,
look.
this is an extremely important educational tool.
It is. It is. If you Coney 2012 shirt, you'd have 121 grand or 1.75 Bitcoin. Great. Who remembers Coney
Sweet.
2012? That was great. All right. Let's see. If you bought a copy of Anti-Fragile when it came out,
Oh, nice.
you'd have 1.63 Bitcoin. If you bought Tinder Gold when it first came out, you'd have around $2,700 or 0.4. Google
Oh,
Glass?
that's a hard one. That's a tough one.
3.36. And let's do one more. Holy
Man,
shit.
this is, if I ever
That's
have the
bad.
care to orange pill somebody, I'm just gonna send them this because this is great.
I have a feeling MADEX has bought some of this shit.
I have a bag of Philips Hues right over there.
That's really bad. When these came out, it would have cost you 68.5 Bitcoin for Philips Hue LED.
Get the mezcal. Fuck.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. Well, with that little gem there, we are going to do a rotation. I'm going to do a quick sponsor shout out, and then we're going to go right over to Dr. Bitcoin and find out why he is bullish. So we will be right in about 20, 30 seconds here. So we'll see you guys in just a sec. DEBIFI.com allows you to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Collateral is held in a 3 of 4 distributed multisig with trusted parties. It provides institutional liquidity providers, loan periods of up to 5 years with flexible conditions and the best rates. And best of all, no rehypothecation of your funds. If you want to check them out today, head over to DEBIFI.com or hit the link in the show notes down below. All right, we are back in and we're going to rotate Dr. Bitcoin. I'm going to toss it straight to you, cue you up with the same question everybody gets. Why are you bullish?
All right. I hinted at it a little bit earlier. The reason I'm bullish is because I get to spend every day with the builders in this space. So when I moved to Austin a couple years ago, I did it with no plan whatsoever. I just wanted to learn as much as possible, be around Bitcoiners. And eventually I got to a point where I realized that there were so many builders in the space that were trying to create their dreams, their vision for what the future might be, but they weren't necessarily able to get the support they needed. So if you're not familiar with the space, it's still a relatively small space compared to the rest of the financial industry. There are very few VCs and angels that are dedicated specifically to Bitcoin. Some are good, some are bad, just like any other industry. Now, I wanted to flip the script a little bit. And so I started working on what I thought was the biggest problem I could find, which was getting funding into the hands of these builders and giving them the power and control over their destinies. So I did something that was not advisable, let's say. And I decided to try to create a company and get approval from regulatory bodies like the SEC and FINRA to be approved as an investment platform to crowdfund these Bitcoin companies. And so earlier this year, Timestamp, our company, was approved by the SEC and FINRA. And so now our investment platform has Bitcoin companies that are raising from the community, which means that because we went through all these extra steps, everyone can invest in these Bitcoin companies. That's both accredited and non-accredited investors, and that's worldwide. So that's people, Bitcoiners, getting into these companies rather than, the classic Silicon Valley VCs or private equity funds. It's a way to support Bitcoiners that are building, and it's a way for Bitcoiners to actually have some skin in the game and invest in the Bitcoin standard.
Sorry, I was muted there. So what kind of, I've got questions then. What kinds of companies are you seeing? Like who is the, I mean, I'm sure there's no archetype exactly, but
Mhm.
what have you seen thus far from people that are partaking in this?
So we've already, even before we've made any official announcements yet. So by the way, your viewers are actually the first to really hear about this. We've already had lots of incoming from Bitcoin builders in the space. So if you go on the website, you'll see several people that have already created their campaign pages and are raising. There's actually one I'd like to spotlight. Jippy is on the timestamp platform, and their campaign has already started, and within just a couple weeks they've already raised nearly $30,000 for the company. And the founder there, Oliver, he is a brilliant person. He's someone that is really inspiring. When you get to meet founders, you get a sense of the type of founders that are going to be successful. You get a sense of who has that kind of wherewithal, that kind of inner drive to really push themselves to create something that's meaningful and long lasting. And what's amazing about the Bitcoin space is so many of those founders meet that criteria, because those founders are usually people that have left their fiat job to do what they're doing. And so for me to get to work with these people every day to help them raise money from Bitcoiners, from their community, has been so inspiring. And we're lucky to have one of the uh, first founders, Oliver, raising for Jippy on the platform live. And we're also lucky to partner with people like Pleb Lab, who are fostering these companies in Austin and giving them a chance to really grow. So we work really hard with them to make sure that they have not just the information they need to be successful, but also the ability to get fundraising to be successful.
It's tricky as a Bitcoin only company, hey? Because like if you're a shitcoin exchange or you're offering up all kinds of tokens and gambling services and things like that, it's a little bit easier to get some VC money in there and get rolling with that. But if you're Bitcoin only, there you've got a number of different types of hurdles in front of you, mostly from just obtaining any type of funding. So, I hope that there are Bitcoiners out there that, again, are looking not just from an investment perspective, but more so from I want to help builders of projects that I think can move the space forward, that can benefit Bitcoiners everywhere. I hope that there's an inclination of people to, go and look and see what kind of projects there are from that standpoint. Almost like yes, you're investing capital, but uh, I would say from me, it's kind of like what do I want to see uh, come of the space? What do I want to see grow? What do I want to see be successful? I suppose.
Exactly. And I think a lot of Bitcoiners feel that way. Of course, number one priority for most Bitcoiners is to stack as many sats as possible, make sure you have a comfortable future for not only yourself, but future generations. But it comes to a point where once you do have those sats, once you do have some savings, you have to think about how you allocate that savings properly. And so we talked earlier about things like investing in high quality goods like art or what have you. I think another thing that's going to happen now is the financialization of the Bitcoin space. How are we going to be able to invest in these companies that are part of this next wave of adoption and invest in these founders that are going to create the infrastructure that helps us get to that Bitcoin standard? This doesn't just happen automatically. There's going to be a lot of people that build the infrastructure to get us there. So how do we do that? Well, the best way to do that is to put your money where your mouth is and actually invest in these people so that they can have the runway to build what they need to build. And so my goal here with Timestamp was to build a platform to try to connect as many investors as possible, retail or otherwise, to these founders that are actually putting their life on the line to build their dream, to leave the fiat world and build on Bitcoin. And for them to be able to be funded, that's much more meaningful than a like on Twitter or a retweet on Twitter. That is skin in the game that gets you to a different level of commitment.
I imagine there's the same issue as well that MADEX was talking about, where it's the time preference portion of it, where people are used to, especially in the past 5-10 years, it's like, I want to throw money and have a quick exit, and then like it's a very fiat minded, short term, as opposed to I'm gonna slowly and very carefully allocate, not just to make like a gain on my capital, but also to kind of build the future I want to see. And I mean, beyond what you're saying, in and around, okay, once you have the sats, once you're doing all right, then you want to be more considerate with what you do. But also, once you're comfortable, it's kind of like, for me, it's no longer like, how can I build more? Yes, I want to build wealth and everything like that. But it's also, how can I influence the world to be a better place with said capital that I've accumulated?
And protect your wealth, and protect the wealth you have built with the infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly. And so like it becomes more of a, okay, I'm comfortable. I feel like I've secured my family's financial future. Like, when you get to that point, it becomes, well, great. So you made it. What are you going to do next? And that's where I think a lot of people, Eric, you're nodding. I'm curious to get your thoughts in and around this stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've done a number of angel investments and stuff in companies that I really believe in. And for me, it was always, like, first and foremost is like where it's just like a fucking no brainer. And that, like, I talk to everybody and they're like, yeah, like, this is the thing we all need. And I'm like, yeah, all right. And like, that guy's building it and he's like a trustworthy, thoughtful person. So sure, I'll throw him some money. But to me, like I think early in the Bitcoin journey, it's grinding, stack as much as you can, build that wealth. You wait for a cycle, you realize like, oh shit, like my savings actually like is savings, and it like saved me. Now like a totally different conversation becomes possible. It's like, all right, like I have faith that when I save money, it'll actually save and I can accrue more wealth. So like, now what do I want to do with that? And like, yeah, you can like go get a bunch of blow and hookers and like, enjoy and do that thing for a while. But at the end, you'll be like, wow, that like satisfied a tickle, but there's something bigger I want to do. And when you can see that other people are building like big, thoughtful, meaningful things, that like, I'm a fuck up. Like I can't do that kind of stuff. I sort of suck at that, but I can offer support and, financial and otherwise to people that are doing that stuff. And that's how I get to participate. And I find that really meaningful. So I think it's important that people understand that as you evolve and go through this journey, that you are going to change. And that's something I'm really big on. It's like Bitcoin actually changes you from who you are into who you're supposed to become. And becoming that person involves taking on greater risk that, and I don't really even like the word risk, because it's about you challenging yourself to move into that becoming who you want to be and supporting the world that you want to be seen. So I think it's really meaningful and purposeful to get to invest in these companies, and particularly with what you're doing with TimeChain, that it's really great to open that up to retail, because a lot of people who are smaller investors are like, hey, I want to get a piece of this pie. And it sucks to be like, oh, so like, do you have like $2 million in capital and make like $250,000 a year? Because like, if not, so sorry, get away from me. Not to mention that like that class in and of itself creates a particular kind of investor that, from my experience in this space, like they can be pretty shovey and demanding. And I've turned around to some people I've invested in. I'd be like, why the fuck would you ever take this asshat's money, even if like you're not giving them a great discount or anything? Like, fuck this guy, he sucks. And they'll be like, huh, let me think about that.
Yeah. It's like not even the profit. I mean, what blocks out a lot of Bitcoin companies from traditional financing is they don't have a fucking clue what we're up to over here and don't give a fuck because they're making so much insane, crazy money in the fiat world that it doesn't even matter. They don't even care about number go up because they're just printing fiat so insanely. And then the other thing is, if you're a company that has actual financial results and you can show that you're profitable and you can show what you did last quarter, this quarter, next quarter, that's a problem for the VCs because it fucks with their puff and their ability to sell your investment at 100x or whatever it's worth, because really they don't give a fuck about the companies that they give money to at all. The only thing that they're focused on is their exit in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years, whatever it is. And they want to be able to sell the exit at 1,000% minimum. And that's really difficult to do with real financial records and actual progress and a audited and something that is a company that is actually in need and required by a space that they can't even begin to understand in the first place. So I think that my biggest financier has certainly been Bitcoin. And I think that's the way a lot of companies have gone that have survived through all these eras, is that when the times got tough, the only investor that understood the pitch was Bitcoin. And I'm glad that that's kind of finally changing and that we have the work that Armand is doing, and that there's a way for Bitcoiners who are building something meaningful to be able to pitch that to people who understand why what they're working on is a real requirement going into the future. It's impossible to sell someone who's looking for the next Uber meets Tinder meets DoorDash all together in one package because they want a 10,000x in a year and a half. You're just not going to get financed.
I do want to.
If a hottie does want to show up and deliver my food and then provide other services, like I'm interested in that. So please let me know if you did.
And then take you where you want to go after.
Oh man.
I do want to touch on what MADEX said here that I found interesting personally from talking to all these founders. I've seen a lot of the traditional fiat startups in the Silicon Valley space and how they think and how they're influenced to think based on the VCs that they're trying to raise from. It is a growth model. You are trying to raise as much money, raise your evaluation, get that exit, and your actual bottom line in terms of your profits and revenue are essentially meaningless so long as you have the growth and you increase the shareholder value. Now, what I've noticed from Bitcoiners is they work in the complete opposite way. So if I talk to a Bitcoiner and they are starting a company, they're thinking about raising money, let's say for a seed round. In the traditional fiat world, they might raise $1 million and raise at a certain valuation. But these Bitcoiners, they're like, you know what? I think I can get by with 600 or 700K. We'll have X amount in Bitcoin reserves. We want to control as much of the company as possible, and we're here for the long haul. And that's a mindset that just does not exist in Silicon Valley and actually is frowned upon in Silicon Valley. So what
if you tell them you're going to fucking put half the money you raise into a Bitcoin strategic reserve, the meeting is over.
Yeah. It's I've got one more question before we round out this topic here, but what do you guys feel in the realm of companies and products and services? What do you feel we're missing right now? Like where is there a gaping hole that somebody needs to come in and actually create and provide a service or a good or whatever it may be? Like where's the blind spot here?
It's only Zaps. That's what we need. We need a OnlyFans that is a pure Bitcoin only platform that works only on Bitcoin and that collectivizes all of the ladies into essentially a gigantic Bitcoin union where they really get it and they only accept payments in Bitcoin. That's what I think, but that's I'm a pervert, so that's where my head's at.
Erik, you may not know this, but we are literally only Zaps right now. This is streaming live to Nostr, and and there have been Zaps happening, although not for the same reason. I'm sure people are just enjoying. I mean, maybe
I was going to take my clothes off.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll wait for the private stream later.
The last Zap from Spaceman was for 69 sats, so maybe he was really liking the vibe he was picking up from you. I think perhaps, but, could be. Wait, it could very much be, but nonetheless, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to some of our nostriches that are viewing the Only Zap stream live. Maybe the missing part is just women.
Yeah. You're getting way ahead of myself here, aren't I?
Yeah.
That's it. Awesome. Okay, so I'll put a little bow on this topic, unless Dr. Bitcoin, if you have any closing thoughts in and around, or anything you want to point people towards before we circle around to the next topic.
Sure. I'll just say that for everyone that's listening, please do your best to support the builders in the space. They are building the infrastructure that helps Bitcoin succeed. You can go to timestampfinancial.com to look at all the offerings that we have and all the offerings that are coming up, and help support those builders in the space.
Awesome. Love it. All right. Well, we're going to round the corner and do a new topic. Again, I'm going to do a quick 20-second sponsor shout out. And actually, we're going to give away some sats coming up momentarily as well. So if you're watching and you've got your Lightning wallet ready, pull it out. Make sure that you're ready to scan, because we're going to have a QR code up on the screen and you can snag some sats. We'll find out how much for in a moment. But first, a quick shout out to our sponsor. We'll be right back. Keeper is a fully open source Bitcoin app created to help you stack sats long term. Easily use your hardware devices or assisted keys to create multisig wallets and plan your inheritance. Head over to bitcoinkeeper.app to download the app and use code btcsessions30 to get a 30% discount on your first subscription. All right, we're back in. We're going to give away some sats before we dive into the next topic here. So just really quick, I'm pulling up, I'm over on bitcoinwell.com. They're in Canada and the US, by the way. The way this works is when you do sign up, when you buy Bitcoin, when you refer friends, you earn points. You can use those points to toss a coin in the Bitcoin wishing well, and you can win anywhere between 500 and potentially 1 million sats. So I'm going to do that exactly as I said right now. I'm going to play now. I'm going to toss a coin in the well. I hope you have those Lightning wallets ready. The first person to scan the QR code will be getting 500 sats right here. I'll leave it up on the screen for a few seconds here. If you do win the sats, please let us know in the chat or in the comments or wherever you're watching this. And congrats to the winner. But with that, we're going to dive back in, and I'm going to toss it over to Erik, and I'm going to cue you up with the same question. Why are you bullish?
Shit, man. It's like pretty well stacked on top of it. I think one of the things I'm the most bullish about, I was just sent a paper by my boys over at Block. One of my good friends, he is one of the senior architects at Block working on BitKey. But he was showing me that he thinks he's discovered the holy grail, which is hardware self-custody wallets without the actual hardware beyond your phone. And this is using Frost. There's a number of cryptographic protocols in there. This was published like 2 days ago, so I'm still reading through it. But he's talked to me about it before, and it's pretty phenomenal. And this is sort of the ultimate development that I see in Bitcoin, is that like everything gets crammed into FOSS, and that everything eventually becomes free and open source software. And it's really cool. And I think that is going to become one of the key supporting architectures that allows for us to sort of develop in this direction, from it being about selling all these different products and services to where it's really much more about techniques and how that we can achieve what we want to see in the world. And then new and cool and bigger stuff gets built on top of that. And so that's one of the things that I think is a holding back sort of a lot of small time holders is they don't necessarily want to get a hardware wallet or have multiple ones. And there's a lot of flexibility in this. So using Frost, it also is much more efficient using multisig schemes, the ability to create essentially various time locks and other things. So that's what I'm really bullish on that front. And then more and more, I'm really bullish just from the conversations that I have with people really getting that, like, this isn't about money, but like this is about freedom. This is about like the ideal that law is. Cause like I am so fucking disgusted at watching this electoral bullshit go on and all these fucking promises that will get broken, and finding again and again, like this is about like the law is fundamentally broken. And that has happened through a constant process of juridification where a state of emergency gets implemented and never taken away. And with Bitcoin, there is no exception. If you own your private keys and those are hidden and nobody else knows it, like you own that more than you own your own physical body, because your nation state has said, hey, if you break our laws, we can steal your body away from you and imprison you and lock you away. So just seeing that people are really getting that, like, oh, like we're actually building really kind of this new form of law that's going to serve everyone on the planet equally so that nobody can steal from anybody else ever again. And like that is monumental in the scope of the development of humanity in itself. And seeing people like have that click on another level is really profound. Yeah. And for a long time, I just thought I was like the only insane person that saw this, but more and more I'm seeing a bloom of other crazy people being like, yeah, like it's time that we stand up and we dignify ourselves in a really meaningful way. And like, I always point out that like, it's extremely important that in 1750, if you went forward and you're like, hey, we got this idea of like a republic and like everybody has a say, and like they'd be like, what kind of fucking nonsense are you talking about? Like the king makes the decision, he has divine right, like fuck off. And only 100 years later in 1850, literally every single nation state had gone into having representative voices from all people everywhere, at least in the West, to actually have a real say in how their lives would play out. And that's been monumental. And so we're reliving that right now. And I welcome every person, whether you're building a product or you're just some pleb trying to stack, that like, this is what the mission is. It's to free humanity from the last vestiges of slavery that we call fiat money.
I love that. It's kind of cool because I would echo that, and I'm seeing that in, I think we're seeing it first. Yeah, we're, you know, the crazy people in the West like us that have kind of honed in on it, but we're also seeing it in the places where people are most disenfranchised. I've been doing a lot of stuff alongside the Human Rights Foundation, and so there's people in some pretty shitty situations where, again, just straight up government. Oh, you're against the government? Okay, well, turns out you can't transact with anybody, and anybody that transacts with you in any way, shape, or form will also shut off their bank accounts, and they'll be penalized, and they'll potentially be labeled as terrorists or whatever the mechanism is. But people are recognizing this around the globe, and I think a lot of people don't realize how far-reaching this is, and how many people are really tuning into the fact that there's now censorship-resistant money, and it's being used exactly for that purpose. There's countless stories I could tell you of people that I've spoken to that they're like, yeah, like I couldn't move money, I couldn't do anything. I mean, one of the girls that helps me do a quarterly webinar, which actually we're doing next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, specifically for human rights activists. Her name is Anna Chekovich, and she's from Russia, and she was, she's part of something called the Anti-Corruption Foundation, and they're actively opposing Vladimir Putin. And so in doing so, they quite obviously are a target of the government. They had their bank account shut down. At one point, she was managing finances for them, and she logged into their online banking, and it was something like negative 1 trillion rubles one day, like just some laughable amount where it's just like, oh, it turns out you have negative 999 billion rubles in your account today, as opposed to what you had yesterday. And they came across Bitcoin and started using it as a fundraising mechanism. And even with poor practices, like they had a static address for years, which, you know, horrible. But at the same time, that nobody could fucking touch the Bitcoin. So it's kind of like a giant middle finger of like, hey, you can see exactly what we raised and you can't touch it. There's nothing you can do. Even though you see what we've raised, the funds are inaccessible to you. And so they've since changed their practices. They use BTC Pay server and create, you know, have new addresses for each donor. They do coin join. They do different privacy things to protect the donors now. But even with those poor practices, they were able to collect donations and use the funds, even though one of the largest governments on earth was saying, we don't want you to have access to any sort of financial infrastructure. And, you know, this is happening time and time again. And so, yes, this is beyond just building wealth. This is a tool that can't be fucked with. And people in the West are getting it too. It's just there's not as much urgency here as there is, and there's not as much incentive or perceived incentive here as people that are in dire straits. And so it's you kind of see, like, in my opinion, I'm kind of seeing like people at far ends of the spectrum picking it up. So people that are most disenfranchised and have the least to lose, that they're like, okay, what the fuck? I'll try it. Why not? Like, what worse could happen? And then you have people that have a lot to lose that are starting to hone it, like people that are managing massive amounts of wealth and also recognizing that, oh shit, like my purchasing power is disappearing. How do I actually protect this? And so this is where you see like these huge institutions be like, okay, we're gonna try and straddle the line of recognizing that this is a way to preserve purchasing power, but we're also going to play the fiat games along with it to capitalize on it and stack more sats on top of it. Like you see the corporations and the BlackRocks of the world trying to play that game too. But make no mistake, they're like, okay, let's stack some sats, but let's also fuck a bunch of normies at the same time in the midst of doing it. But like, nonetheless, people at the ends of the spectrum are getting it, and it's kind of working its way in, other than the crazies in the middle that just happened to discover it early. I think what's happening. I don't know what you guys think.
I'm definitely seeing that. And, you know, one of the things I would say, like, but, you know, Bitcoin actually isn't for the West, it's for the South. And the fact that there are literally tens of millions of people that are trapped in horrific situations that they can't escape from. You know, like I've spent significant amounts of time in Burma, and they have unilaterally declared their currency worthless twice. Or just one day you woke up, they're like, yeah, your money's not worth anything. We have this new piece of shit that you guys get to buy now. Sorry, you're fucked. And like, people don't appreciate that, like, this fucks up development in such a deranged way that, like, what people do in Burma is they build these gigantic mansions because anytime they get any significant amount of money, you just build an extra room on your fucking house, because before it evaporates, you got to do something. And like, most people live in these fucked up circumstances because they have these horrific governments that are propped up by fucking American imperialism mostly to make sure that these people stay fucked. And like, the fact that we now have a tool that we can actually meaningfully resist that, and I can have a solidarity with dissidents in places like fucking China or Zimbabwe or Eritrea, like, that is more meaningful than anything, because maybe one of those people is going to be the next Einstein. Maybe one of those people makes a breakthrough in energy development. And all of this is so important. And so I really try to emphasize that, like, yeah, number go up is great, but like, this is about something a lot bigger than it. And it's about making sure that humanity in the future has a fair fucking shot. And that if you're a smart person that has agency and hustle, you can actually escape from the fucked up circumstances that you've been birthed into, because now you can actually save your money in a meaningful way. And that there's no one, it doesn't matter if it's Vladimir Putin or fucking Xi Jinping, Winnie the Pooh, they can't steal your fucking money. Fuck them, and fuck the fact that they ever created a system that does this. And I am so bullish on the fact that there are now millions of Bitcoiners out there building the tools that are going to liberate dissidents from across the world and create a better world for everyone.
Hell yeah.
Death to time thieves.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I want to touch on a couple things that Erik said here. First and foremost, for Erik to call out Frost, I don't think people realize like how deep of a bag that is. Like they just won the hackathon at TabConf, I believe, just like a week ago. So Erik is like absolutely tapped into the development of things going on in the Bitcoin space. So that's just super impressive. Second, I want to touch on the exorbitant privilege to live in the West at this current time frame. I think it's very easy to take for granted what Bitcoin offers to people in the West. We look at it as an asset class. We have that privilege to look at it as like, oh, look at it compared to all these other things, gold and equity and real estate, and look how much better it's doing. Maybe you should allocate 2 to 5% of your portfolio to feel like you get a sharp ratio of X and to feel like your portfolio grows at X amount per year. And that's all great. I think we're very fortunate to be able to be in that position and to do that. But I encourage Bitcoiners that live in the West to talk to people that live in these countries with currencies that are so volatile that they become so unpredictable on a day-to-day basis. You don't know what you're waking up to. That is a living nightmare. To know what you can and can't afford on a daily basis is something that I would never wish upon my worst enemy. That is such a difficult position to be in. You can work as hard as you like. You can be as a high achiever as you want, and you can try to do all these great things. There are people in those countries that did what I did, that they tried to become doctors, they tried to become academics, they tried to achieve the highest aims that they can achieve in their country, and they still have no chance because the money is broken. That is a privilege that we have in the West, that where if you feel like you will put in the work, you work hard, you'll be able to achieve those goals, at least relatively speaking. Of course, Bitcoin's going to offer you some value, relatively speaking, compared to your fiat currency, your assets, whatnot. But take some time to consider how most of the world lives. Most of the world lives in a way where their fiat currency is losing value at an incredible pace. They're not able to live on a day-to-day basis with their fiat currency losing the value the way it is. So take some time, consider what Bitcoin means to most people around the world. Appreciate the privilege that you live in. Take advantage of it if you can. And realize that this revolution is not just an American revolution. It's not just a revolution in the West, but it's a global revolution.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very clear difference that in America and Canada and Europe, we are countries that are just so rich that it will take us the longest to really feel the problem of fiat. And most people I talk to about early that are new to Bitcoin, the first thing I do these days, which is very rare, I never orange pill anybody for the most part, but is put light on the problem, because many people they've heard stuff about Bitcoin, they know about Bitcoin. They don't understand how fucked up the money is in the first place. They don't understand how broken fiat is. They don't understand how the root cause of almost all suffering that we're experiencing today comes from this massive theft. And without knowing that there's a problem, being served a solution is just, it's totally useless. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, here's a solution for a problem that doesn't exist. And I think that's the root of why people who are new to Bitcoin are so standoff, is because they don't know that there's a problem, and we're serving them a solution, and we're trying to sell them a solution, and they think everything's fine. They don't notice the flames everywhere. And that's a major problem. So definitely with explanations, got to start with kind of illustrating how broken things are. But we in first world countries, we can bleed for so long. We are so resource rich in America, in Canada, in Europe. We have such sophistication. There is just the horror can go on for so long just because of the amount of resources and intellectual capacity that was acquired over all the time that's brought us to this point where we saw central banks start to rise. There was just so much wealth produced here. But I mean, so Bitcoin for us, we can look at it as an investment. And when we're talking to fiat bros or people who are heavily ingrained and don't know there's that problem, that's the only really angle. And something I noticed talking to guys who are extremely high up in fiat world and make absolutely incredible money that doing nothing is they don't care about Bitcoin doing 100x or a 500x because they're just they're just sucking off the money printer. So all the potential gains of Bitcoin over the next 10 years don't interest them at all because they're going to make those gains anyways by just sucking off of the printer. Cut to all the South and everywhere else where they don't have the wealth that we've been fortunate enough to build. That's where you see Bitcoin really shine as a tool. And the tool is what makes it inevitable. It's a real tool that solves real problems. And the same problems it solves in those countries that are having a really hard time are the same problems it solves for us. We're just not aware of the problems yet because we have the wealth that can be burned for so long before we actually feel those problems. And recently we've been feeling them more, which is great. It's helping. But even if United States, Canada, Europe continue to plunge into insane communism, the roadmap to it's just going to take so long for really the wealth to be looted, thieved, blocked. And humans are so creative and ingenuitive that we're going to find ways to get through the system no matter what. I used to be very, very depressed about the state of everything. And a friend of mine really changed my perspective on it. Matt Hill, who all of you guys know, he said to me, look what we've done in spite of it. Look at what we've done in spite of the horror of fiat. Look at what's been accomplished in spite of it. Like that's the shining light that it's just so fucking great. And, you know, we're in this tunnel of deep darkness in fiat, and Bitcoin is this light at the end of the tunnel, this little speck. And thanks to our efforts, we're all charging towards it. And I hope that by illustrating the problems to people in kind of our worlds that have wealth and sort of showing what's happening in other countries, showing the tool use case, that is kind of the perfect package to help onboard some of these people and get them kind of in line with the way that we're thinking.
Yeah. I want to tap on a couple things that you said there. So in terms of, again, like the amount of horror that's been, you know, unleashed even on people in the West in the past generations, and people just kind of sit down and take it. I remember I think it was a previous show, or it might have just been a personal conversation that we had, but I really liked something you had to say. And it was, you were like, I fucking hate it when people laugh about how things used to be cheaper. Like, you know, oh, I used to go to the movies and it was a nickel or a quarter or whatever like that. And then they just kind of chuckle and you're like, and it completely dismisses and makes light of the scale of theft that has occurred for it to be $15 to go to a movie now compared to a quarter.
50.
Yeah.
Fucking 50, man.
Yeah. Exactly. And so like that really struck me. And so yeah, that's a an example of how much bullshit people are willing to put up with and just kind of laugh off. The one thing I think that's changed now is that there's a shift in directionality. And what I mean is, yeah, shit got more expensive and wealth was extracted by those that, with control and proximity to the money spigot. But in generations prior, all that meant was they should have been much richer, but they still were doing better than the previous generation. And the scale of theft has reached such that this generation is now doing worse than the prior. And so now there's people are cognizant, I'm getting fucked somehow because my parents are better off and my grandparents were better off. That, you know, we had, you know, grandparents, a single head of household could support many children. And then there's people out there saying, I can't even afford to house and feed myself without requiring multiple roommates. How in the hell am I ever going to have children? You know, like this is kind of where they're at. So people are, they're recognizing it and they're feeling it. And so what I'm wondering if there's a fine line, because that directionality, people will act to preserve something they feel like they had, but that they're worried about losing. And so if people think they can do something to prevent that loss, then they will act. But if it happens too quickly and it's just lost, they won't act to preserve it from happening in the future. And the reason I realized this is when I went to my barber, he's from Lebanon. And so I was talking to him as, you know, hyperinflation had happened and people were literally holding up banks just to get their own savings out, all that kind of stuff. And I was talking to him and I was like, man, it's kind of crazy what's happening back in your home right now. And he's like, yeah, but I mean, we just can keep living our lives. And I was like, how like, what in the fuck? How do you just like, you lost everything? He's like, yeah, but you can only lose everything once, really. Like once you lose 99% of your wealth overnight, if you lose another 99%, I mean, like it's 99% versus 99.99%. It's not a fuckload of difference in context of the full 100. So like people, yeah, were absolutely enraged at first, and people went out and stormed into banks and held them up to get their money out so they could exchange it for dollars or whatever it was. But once everybody had lost everything, all they did was realize they had lost everything, came to terms with it, and then just adjusted their mannerisms and their behaviors so that when you get paid, you just go and spend it right away because you know that you can't hold the money for extended periods of time anymore. So like it's almost like if the change and the theft happens quick enough, then yeah, you get a blow up at first, but then people just, well, fuck, I guess I don't have anything anymore. And so there's this weird fine line in between there where people will stand up and do something about it when the rug pull is slow enough, but they can see it. And it's like, if it takes generations to see it, they're not going to do anything. If it happens right away, they might do something a little bit and then, oh, well, it's that weird. And I feel like in the West, we might be in that anger sweet spot, for lack of a better term. We might be somewhere in that realm where shit's getting hard enough that people are getting pissed. And I mean, we kind of see it, but people don't know where to point the anger right now.
Yeah, they don't know where it goes. They don't know how to direct it at all, right? Any fiat normie you talk to right now can feel what's fucked. They can feel the inflation. They're aware of it. They know the word, but they really, the propaganda and the dogma is so thick that it's really hard to get through. Like that, the normie cannot comprehend that the entire infrastructure that they think is the reason they have a good life is this horrible succubus vampiric monster draining every part of their soul. They just cannot make that disconnect, that connect, because it would just make everything they've ever believed false. And so they feel it all happening, and then here we see the media and the state directing it into all the places that benefits them, everywhere except for themselves. The most clear place we see it directed is to the capitalist. The capitalist is the main person that is responsible for all the greatness that we experience in our day-to-day lives. All the wealth, all the prosperity, every second of a high quality life is thanks to the capitalist. However, telling people that is bad. So let's blame them, because that collapses the state. So we have to direct all this negative energy of all the fucked up stuff that we're doing onto the capitalist, onto the entrepreneur, the people who built the fucking world. We direct all that fury towards them because they're the threat. They're the only people asking rational and reasonable questions. They're the only people that are giving us trouble when we issue mass commandments and we say stuff that's fucking retarded. They're the only people that give us a problem. So let's direct all the negativity. Many normies, even the ones who are the most realizing of what the fuck is going on and how bad things are getting, they blame the greedy and evil capitalist. And it just makes me feel fucking sick, man. How successful their machine of propaganda has been, that the culprit has shielded up all responsibility to the people who created this world in the first place. It's really quite horrible.
Well, and that's what you get when you destroy the money, is people can't figure out what the fuck is going on. They can't figure out why is this guy being able to build success and I can't. And a lot of the times, like, I don't even like the term capitalist anymore because that's so obfuscated with the fiat financial system, where it's true marketeers, you know. And like, I always celebrate, like, look, like, drug dealers are like the guys that are actually out there really participating in a market-based economy, because like they're not getting kickbacks from the government. They're not, like, they have to engage in a real fucking market where they actually have to compete in a meaningful and thoughtful way. And like, I don't know, like it's really terrifying to me that like right now people are like, this is the election that means the most, like, go out and vote. This is how we create change. Like, motherfucker, I don't give a shit who like, you can elect Jesus fucking Christ himself. He will not solve this budget problem. Yeah. And you guys really need to fucking realize that we are fucked irregardless of red or blue. And the only person that's going to come and save your ass is you. And the big difference between that, like cutting them off immediately and having a slow bleed is like, in the West, get that, like, you're being shuffled into the fucking ghettos right now so that your ass will go into the concentration camp in 2 years when they create CBDCs. And when that comes down, you realize they've put the fucking gates down and your ass is trapped with no fucking exit. So like, get fucking real. No one here is going to save you. No one's going to have a political solution. And there isn't going to be a way to vote your way out of this. You have to save your own ass and realize that the only fucking way that you're not going to get fucked into oblivion is if you hold your own private keys, you understand how Bitcoin works, and that you can get the fuck out when you need to. And people think that I get too passionate about this, but like, this is serious fucking business. Do you really think Jews in the 1930s, if they had fucking Bitcoin, that so many of them would have found themselves in the same situation? No, they would have had a way to actually get the fuck out and not get completely fucked out of all of their wealth that they ever had. So like, this is actually fucking serious, and you need to take it fucking serious. And if you're sitting here pouncing around being like, maybe I can make a little money or something, go fuck yourself. Like, this is actually about figuring out how to save the little bit that you have and not get fucked over when they do implement CBDCs. End of rant.
Yeah. Back in the past when Ethereum first started to have its rise, like the meme was they're fucking dancing around in the unicorn shit, and the Bitcoiners are all bulletproof vests and fucking cigars in dugouts. And it's like a complete thing that the whole crypto world overlooked is that money is fucking serious business. It's not a fucking game at all. And that is something that Bitcoiners have always understood from the beginning, that this is, we're talking about fucking money here. This isn't like the future of finance and no, we're talking about money. It's not a complex fucking thing, and it's serious as fuck. And either you're going to take it seriously or you're not. And the less seriously you take it, the more fucked you're going to be by the whole fiat thing collapsing.
Yeah. To Erik's CBDC point, if you want to feel a fire under your ass, go check out cbdctracker.org. This shows the current state of CBDCs in its many forms around the globe and where governments in various parts of the globe are at with CBDCs. So you can see, you can go and see where they've actively been launched. You can see where there's currently pilot programs. You can see where there's proof of concepts, and you can see where they're currently in research phases. And after I go through those, that's most of Earth. And that's scary as shit. And so you need to be aware, and you can go and you can actually go and get more details on what's going on specifically, and show articles and history of what's been happening in your specific country once you click on it. So be aware, insulate yourself from this shit, and start figuring out how could you obtain all of the things you need in day-to-day life without having to use your local currency, because it can be tricky, but in when there's a chasm there, when there's a void to be filled, you can fill it with your local community. And I think that's a very important thing. You need to link up with like-minded people. You need to link up and create a supporting community where you can be outside of the system when you need to be, which in my opinion is now. And we're trying to do this here in Calgary. We're trying to build out a local market. We've been doing it, I'd say, with a degree of success, and we're gradually building it. I'm lucky enough that I've been able to piece together a lot of my needs and be able to pay for them in Bitcoin directly with the individuals. And then I can fill the gaps with online services and stuff that will kind of bridge those payments for me. But the end goal is just to get all of the things I need directly for Bitcoin so that I can be completely removed from the fiat system. And so I encourage you to try and do the same. And in my opinion, the best way to do that is meet your local Bitcoiners. And every time there's a meetup, every time there's an event, say, hey, I do the following. These are my skills. This is what I'm capable of doing. And I'm willing to take Bitcoin for it. But also, and the more important part is, you need to say, I'm looking for the following things. Is there a rancher in the room? Can I get my beef? Is there a plumber? Is there a roofer? Is there various tradesmen? Does somebody know how to make furniture? Is there, hey, I need new art for my house. Hey, I need a personal trainer. There's all of these things, and a bunch of the things that I just said, I said them because I know these people and I actively have hired them myself. And so start with the Bitcoiners. Everybody there already fucking knows this is better money and would already love to accept it for what they do. Just for some reason, us as Bitcoiners haven't quite figured out that we can't just slap a sticker on the window of our shop and expect Bitcoiners to show up. No, you got to go to the Bitcoiners and say, hey, I'm a Bitcoiner too. And I would love if you were to use my goods or services and pay me in Bitcoin. And you need to repeatedly say it, because it's not like you're going to say it once and everybody's going to flock there. It's work, but that work will be rewarded in the future. So please, please, please go to your local meetups, begin creating your circular economies, begin creating these relationships, because those are the people that are going to be there when you really need them.
Yeah, the best thing is the best thing for a Bitcoiner going to a normie friend or connection or somebody in their network who does a certain task and saying, hey, you install Windows, right? You pull out the old Windows, put in the new ones. I got a client for you that's got fucking 8 bedrooms that all need new windows, but he's not going to do the deal unless you will accept the Bitcoin. He wants to do the deal in Bitcoin or any variation of that. It's just a great way to talk to people. Fucking orange pill tradespeople. Okay, I don't fucking talk to. I don't waste my time on any fucking suits, any fucking intellectual, fucking any of those guys. I never talk to them. Fuck them, man. They're leeching off the fiat world. They're having their time, their big party. Fuck them. I'm talking to my fucking plumber. I'm talking to the guy putting in windows. I'm talking to all the tradespeople, because the major shift to the Bitcoin standard is the wealth will start to act as it should be, which is it will go to people who are fucking useful and provide a great service. And right now, it is not a success to onboard a banker to Bitcoin. It's probably a negative, if anything. It is a huge success to onboard a roofer, a tiler, a mason, any of these fucking trades. That's where there's real victory, because again, when all this shit goes fucking crazy, which we know it will, you're not going to need a lawyer when the apocalypse is happening, or whatever close degree we reach to that. You're not going to need someone who's an investment advisor or whatever they call them at the fucking banks. Like, that person is so useless and incompetent, I can't even begin to describe it. In the fiat world. So imagine how fucking useless they are in the Bitcoin world. So focus on the trades, guys. And every time you need something done in your property, or you need some sort of mechanical, and like anything that you'll know what's valuable. And those are the people you want to talk to, and at least like give them a slow pitch. And unfortunately, we got so wrecked with fucking crypto scams that talking about Bitcoin it can be really off-putting to people, because they fucking bought Doge or some stupid fucking garbage and got fucking wrecked, or whatever situation it is, or B, they've just heard stories like that, or any of the stuff about FTX, or all the fucking shitty stuff. So I try to just be smooth with it and drop it in here and there. For example, I just had a gate installed at a property, and after I didn't even bring up paying in Bitcoin, after the deal was done, I just sent the guy how much Bitcoin was used to pay for the gate. So I just sent him a screenshot of the transaction from Bull to pay for the of how many sats were used to pay for the gate, and just said, just so you know, this gate cost whatever X amount of sats. And that was the only touch point we had about Bitcoin. And then afterwards, he asked me, he's like, yeah, I actually would like to learn about it. And
Nice.
And maybe he'll follow up, maybe he won't. But for fucking damn sure, in 3 years, he's going to look at that screenshot and realize how fucking rich he could have been if he did the one job for Bitcoin instead of fucking fiat cash.
Yeah. I mean, in 2020, I paid one of my contractors what amounted to be several Bitcoin that is now, worth 5 times its value. And look, like if you are a skilled tradesperson listening to this, like, you need to be paid in only Bitcoin. Go to your clients and say, no, I'm not going to accept your inflationary, debased bullshit money. Pay me in real fucking hard money, Bitcoin. If you are skilled at what you do, people will seek you out and will make sure to pay you in that. And this is how we actually get this shit going. I do not sell my services for fiat money. I'm unfucking interested in it. If you want to pay me in real money. Pay me in money that can't be taken from me. And more importantly, pay me in something that I'm not going to get fucked with some middleman in between us who's going to shave 40% off the top because they think that they give me some kind of fucking rights to steal from me. All right? Come on, guys, like get your fucking head in the game and realize that these motherfuckers are leeching from you in 5 ways till Sunday, and you can actually stop it if you can pull your head far enough out of your ass to figure out that Bitcoin is real money as opposed to you using your fucking debit card. End of rant.
Okay, so I love this, and what I want to mention is that if you're a person that has a lot of fiat paying clients, as most people are, and you want to incentivize people to not pay you in dollars, but rather pay you in Bitcoin, I want to show you something really, really cool. So I'm going to just screen share here for a second. This is what I do. I was able to get fiat payments to effectively zero, by the way. This is ZapRight. This is like an invoicing tool. You can create payment links. You can create even like a point of sale terminal. And what you can do is you can go and link in various payment options. So like I have one way on chain. So it'll just go to a wallet that I own that will automatically coin join and then send directly from the coin join into a cold card queue. So that's just all automated. If somebody pays on chain, it instantly gets coin joined and then ends up in my cold card. I've also, it says custodial, but this is not custodial. This is my Albi hub that is on my Start9 node. And so if somebody selects to pay in Lightning, it goes directly to my own Lightning node at home, regardless of where I am on Earth. And actually, funny enough, MADEX, I bought a bunch of shit from you as I was, not shit, like excellent shit is what I'm getting at. But I bought a bunch of stuff from you. I got, I grabbed this, my necklace. I got some earrings for my wife. I got a bunch of stuff there. And I was paying you remotely from my Lightning node, which is connected to my LB hub, my Start9 at home. But the cool thing here is ZapRight also has options for fiat payments, bank transfers, Stripe. You've got like Canadian Interac e-transfer, wire transfers, Square, like all of that, PayPal, all that kind of stuff. Okay, fantastic. But you want people to pay you in Bitcoin. So how do you incentivize them? This is my favorite thing. And it goes back to something we were talking about earlier. People may not act to gain something if it's trivial, but they will act to prevent themselves from losing something. So you may price your goods in dollars, but the way that I've started doing it is if somebody wants to pay me, okay, here's the price. Great. They click to pay. When they get through, they'll see the options. Oh, pay on-chain Bitcoin, Lightning, or maybe you pay with a credit card, whatever. But further to that, there's this cool little setting, add a premium or discount. And here's what I like to do. I'm going to add a premium to fiat payments of, now what I do is 20%. And I add that. And so when somebody pulls up the price, they see, great, it's $100 or it's $1,000 or whatever it is. And then they see, oh, but if I want to pay with credit card, it's 20% more. Fuck that. I better figure out how to use Bitcoin. Or like they're very angry and they begrudgingly pay in fiat that time. But then they start figuring out, okay, like if I'm going to come back to this guy, I got to figure out how to pay in Bitcoin. And so I was able to basically reduce fiat payments, which I did not want, which if you accept through something like PayPal, they're scraping away 10% anyways by the time it hits your bank account. So I was able to reduce fiat payments massively by just doing that. And I don't think it works the same if you offer a Bitcoin discount, but because if you say, oh, it's a discount, they've already got the price cemented in their head. Oh, I was already willing to pay $100 or $1,000 for this. If I'm going to save $10, I mean, is that worth it for me to go through the trouble? But if they have $100 cemented or $1,000 cemented in their head, and then they see it's 10 or 20% more, they're like, I had committed in my brain to that price, and now it's more because of how I'm paying. And it also communicates better that it's not that it would be nice if you paid this way. It's like, your money is so shitty that I'm charging you a 20% premium to give it to me. because I don't want it. That's the communication that I think it gives. And so this is why I love just that little nuanced thing. They give the granularity. They give you the option to discount Bitcoin, but fuck that. Premium the shit out of fiat, I think. That's what I say.
Good tip.
Show me the incentives, I'll show you the action, right? You are incentivizing customers to use Bitcoin over fiat. You are saying, I value this X amount more than the fiat that I receive, that, you know what, I'm willing to give you a discount if you use Bitcoin over fiat. And I think a lot of people that are logical are going to be incentivized to use Bitcoin over fiat in that instance. And I think on a grander scheme, when you talk about Bitcoin adoption, I think one of the most underrated aspects of Bitcoin adoption is the merchant side of things. If you have merchants such as yourself, Ben, or MADEX yourself, when it comes to your art, that incentivize Bitcoin payments, then you're sending a signal out into the world that, hey, I value this form of money more than the one that you are more familiar with, than the US dollars, the Canadian dollars, what have you. And you know what? I'm willing to give you a bit of a discount just so I receive that. And so when you're doing that, you're sending a signal out into the world to consumers to say that this money is higher on the hierarchy than other monies. I also want to touch on a different point that you brought up earlier when it came to CBDCs. I didn't get a chance to mention it earlier. I believe it was Thomas Sowell that said, when you remove a cancer, what do you replace it with? If you remove the Federal Reserve, if you remove the Treasury, if you remove central bank currency, what do you replace it with? I think as human beings, we're trained to think about things in a very linear manner from when we're very young. So you think, okay, well, if we remove it from its current state, what do we replace it with? Okay, CBDCs, that makes natural sense. And I think a lot of people sleepwalk into those situations. And I think this is a very critical period for humanity. We can very easily sleepwalk into CBDCs. I think that most people don't take it with the level of seriousness that's required to understand the inflection point that we are at. Bitcoin offers people an escape from all of this central bank currency, from all this centralized government control. And for us to not take advantage of it would be a grave mistake, because I believe this is a once in a civilization opportunity. And so for people that are listening that might be on the borderline of understanding what Bitcoin is, do the work, understand what Bitcoin is, make decisions that will impact not just your future, but the future of generations, and really be conscious about every decision you make when it becomes an impactful decision that will affect the future of humanity.
I think that was very eloquently said. And I think that's the perfect opportunity to put a bow on this topic. I think that was the perfect cap on it. So yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, I don't think anything more needs to be said. With that, we're going to do our final rotation here. We've got one more topic. And MADEX, I'm going to be going to you momentarily. We're going to give our final shout out to the last show sponsor, and we will be back in less than 30 seconds. So we'll see you in just a minute. Speed is one of the fastest growing Bitcoin Lightning wallets out there. It is a fast and secure way to send and receive Bitcoin and stablecoin payments instantly. You can even swap between Bitcoin and stablecoins directly in the app. Also in the app, you can buy gift cards for all the best brands and earn rewards in the process. To download Speed, simply scan the QR code on the screen, click the links in the show notes down below, and use code btcsessions10 to get 5,000 sats for free. All right, we are back in, and MADEX is gone. nice.
I'm surprised it took this long.
I know. I was waiting for it, but that's all right. You know what? While he's I'm sure probably just like hitting the can. I'm gonna shill something I would have done at the end of the show anyways. I'm gonna give people an opportunity to earn more sats. So if you're familiar with the company that I started, it's called Bitcoin Mentor, and so we're basically one-on-ones for people to be able to level up in their Bitcoin journey. So a lot of Bitcoiners, they will get to a place where maybe they learn one or two things. Cheers, man. I'm interrupting your set. You disappeared, so I'm doing a shill. But nonetheless, yeah, Bitcoin Mentor. I started it earlier this year, and basically aggregated a ton of incredibly talented Bitcoin educators. And so basically, what they can help people do is figure out things like self-custody or hardware or multisig or running a node or home mining as a hobbyist or Bitcoin privacy or whatever it is. And so some Bitcoiners get to a point, again, they learn a few things, they become a bit of a Bitcoin Luddite, and then they just don't do anything. And so then like 5-6 years down the line, it's like, oh shit, is my setup any good anymore? I don't know. So yes, of course you can come to us for that. But a lot of people watching this have been watching tutorials and leveling up on their own as well. So if that pertains to you, we're also kind of rounding the corner, and we're near all-time highs, and you're going to have mom and dad and aunt and uncle and friend from high school and all these other people knocking down your door asking for your free time to teach them about Bitcoin, which you're more than welcome to do. But if you want to offload some of that and earn some sats in the process, then you can scan the QR code on the screen. You can become a Bitcoin Mentor affiliate, and you can send them our way, and we will educate them with Bitcoin best practices, and you will earn sats in the process. So anybody that you send our way, not just for their first session, but for every single session that they book with us in perpetuity moving forward, you get $21. And that gets paid out in Bitcoin at the end of each month. So yeah, scan the QR code, sign up as a Bitcoin Mentor affiliate, and stack sats as new Bitcoiners stack skills. Anyways, enough of my shilling. Let's dive back in. And MADEX, I'm tossing it your way. Final topic of the evening. And why are you bullish? Take it away.
Well, I'm really not prepared at all. I'm not prepared, but
I'm a little jealous right now.
being not prepared. First thing we have to do is take care of some extremely serious business, which is that in 2023, or maybe I don't know when, that's why I need a manager. I started a emissary support program, which allowed people to give me 6.15 US dollars a month in exchange for having their order number in this box. So the idea behind this is that obviously what I'm doing is the hardest fucking business in the world mixed with the hardest people in the world to sell to. And so this was my kind of monthly support to help pay an internet bill. The idea being that one day, I'll have 10,000 people that can enter into this box year over year. So this is a draw for a MADEX original, a MADEX totem, and something else. So I'm going to do 3 draws from this box first. How it works is every month that you have an order, the order number goes in here. And as you can see, not many, but enough that I'm really fucking excited to do this draw. Each order from every month is an entry, and I'm going to do it live now. This is the only way I can figure out how to do it. So I want you to know that on top of my own shuffling, this was also shuffled by a gorgeous Norwegian girl earlier. So it is extra random.
Did you just say that you're going to do it live? Because if we're going to do it live, then we better.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
I had to. Anyways,
go ahead. My cigar has gone out. But okay, we're going to start with the first one. So the first order is 1431.
1431.
Okay. So this is an original MADEX. So if this is your order, 1431, send me a message on Twitter or on Telegram, or you can email me.
Do we know what they win yet, or is it a surprise?
No, the first one is an original. So 1431. So contact me and we'll figure out what that is. If there's nothing I have available, we can go into the future with it and see what's made. Second one is for a totem similar to this one. Here's one I have that I brought as demonstration for anyone who hasn't seen one. And we'll do another little quick shuffle. Try and make this quick, you know. Okay, here we go. So 1281. 1281. And then the last one, I think, is an AP print. I'm pretty confident that that's an AP print. So we'll do the last one. Okay, here we go. Okay, 1316. Okay,
sweet.
So I'll just quickly mark these so I don't lose them. And then this has been ongoing in 2024 now and will be ongoing into the future. Just helps me pay for the internet that allows me to appear on Ben's shows, and who knows what else as things go on. So that's my primary shell. And then why am I bullish? Well, I think the most important reason that I'm bullish is because inevitably Bitcoin is going to fucking wreck you very bad. To whatever degree that is up to your choices. But no matter what, you're going to have a negative experience with Bitcoin at some point in your journey. And what makes me bullish is that in spite of some of the horrific pain that Bitcoin has the ability to cause, we all are still here and we all still show up and we all still build businesses, build channels, write books, create content for what's next, for the people that are coming next, and for the future, and for our own families, and for everyone there. So that makes me insanely bullish. It's like the killer app that people bought at, I don't know the numbers, 70,000 or whatever, and then they wrote out this entire fucking. I saw a meme recently that when we broke 69 again, it was people who bought in the past. They're like 1% gain. It's like a huge victory. Fuck yes. It's something crazy that it's a world that can just fucking cause so much pain, and yet you still show up and just fucking crush it because you understand that it's all just timing, and like when you entered and the decisions you made, and you get better at timing and you get better at your decision making. And inevitably, on a long enough timeline, we all become the angels and the VCs to the next wave of whatever Bitcoin needs, because many of us have heard the OG stories that are one of my favorites is Dave Bradley selling 140 Bitcoins for furniture or whatever the number was for his offices. Many guys I know that spent 10,000 Bitcoins paying off cars, houses, or things like that. Just many, many mistakes. But we hear all of these stories while we look at our own stack of 0.01, 0.1, 1 Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin, whatever it is. And yet somehow we cannot connect that we are living through the exact fucking same situation. In my personal opinion, there is no difference at all on entering Bitcoin today and entering Bitcoin 5 years ago and entering Bitcoin 10 years ago. You're still going to go through the same horrible mistakes, and you're still going to not respect your fucking Bitcoin soon enough. I don't think there's a way, no matter what I say, no matter anybody that comes on any of these shows or anybody you hear talk about or tell their stories, it's kind of like the inflation thing. Ha ha. I sold fucking 500 Bitcoin into a bad fucking business deal. I fucking sold 10 Bitcoin into this. I did this, whatever the fuck the numbers are. You don't realize we're running through the same equation over and over and over again. And like, whatever the size of your stack is, respect that fucking coin, man. Respect it. Because if you don't fucking respect that money, it will punish you to the same degree that every OG you've ever looked up to has fucking told you over and over and over again about. So remember that 1,000 Bitcoin, 10,000 Bitcoin became 1,000 Bitcoin, became 100 Bitcoin, became 10, became 1, became 0.1, became 0.01, becomes 0.001. Where it's inevitable where we're going. So respect the coins you have and stack and save and do the best you can to build what you can. But also remember that even if you're able to stash a couple 0.1s or a couple 0.00 or whatever, as long as you got some sort of saving system going and you're putting some amount of coins, whatever it is, that is a reasonable ratio to your income away every month, like you're going to fucking win. You're going to win. As long as you're saving in Bitcoin, whatever that number is to you, month over month, you're going to fucking win. And the next thing you know, you're going to be someone who has secured generational wealth for your family and is looking how to do a lot of spendle on ridiculous things like who knows what, whatever your heart desires. But something that frustrates me a lot with anyone who's new to this, when I onboard them, they'll buy their first $100 worth of Bitcoin, and then it's like this like joking sort of kind of, great, I got my $100. Shut the fuck up. You have no idea what you're talking about. There's just no respect in that first phase. And if you can skip the step of having to be painfully forced to respect the Bitcoin you have, that's just a fucking massive, massive win. So that is what I would try to tell anybody that I meet or that I speak to that is starting to get involved in this, is just like respect the fucking coins and save in them whatever it is. If you're buying 100,000 sats in savings every month, a million or whatever your numbers are, it's fucking something, and just don't fucking touch it. And then the other thing to the other side is like, don't sacrifice and like crush and have a shitty life for the sake of gains in the future, because like, yes, that can play out very well, but you have to survive to that point. You have to actually get there. And if you just save and then you're just killed in some random fucking accident, then what was the fucking point of it? So remember that having money is fucking awesome and being able to earn money is awesome, but also you got to have a life that is meaningful to live, and that and sometimes you just got to do stuff and try stuff and spend, invest in yourself, invest in your lifestyle, invest in stuff that just makes you fucking happy and enjoy yourself. Because no matter what, no matter how hard you hodl, you're going to fucking spend some Bitcoin now and then on whatever it is, and you're probably going to regret that. And there's no getting around it. So I think that's like the major reasons why I'm bullish, is because all the suffering OGs have experienced. I think we're in a new round of suffering now, like people who spent Bitcoins when the price dropped to like 20K there for a while. Now they're really feeling the pain there, or people who, it's just, there's pain everywhere, but on a long enough timeline, and if you're really looking into the future with this stuff, it's fucking gonna work out for you. And you know, there's no, that just respect the coins, I guess, is the end of my rant.
Dude, I wrote so many little notes on all of the things that you just said because it resonated so much with me. One on the pain. There's no escaping the pain. Everybody pays the price of tuition in Bitcoin in one way or another. And if there's one thing that you learn, Bitcoin is a cruel but effective teacher. And there's no way around that. And so one thing, and the other thing about that is weathering a bear market. There's a camaraderie that comes on the other side of that. When somebody's been through that shit and been like, fuck it, I'm working through this. I'm gonna weather this 80% drawdown and keep stacking sats, even as every person in my life is telling me I'm a fucking idiot. And you just keep doing it. And that first ride, as you're kind of coming into the space is, even though you can kind of see what has happened prior, there's still this self-questioning that occurs. Like, is it the thing that I think it is? And that vindication on the other side of it is, it's a breath of fresh air, and then you get to say like, okay, all right, I had conviction, but like here we are, and then every ride from then on in becomes a little bit easier, and you start saying, okay, I know what the fuck's going on. It's just people being people, fiat brains being fiat brains. I want
to highlight a couple of comments in the chat that I think captured what MADEX said really well. No More Inflation said, Bitcoin is like riding a motorcycle. Everyone falls off at some point. I think that was pretty apt. And then also C-Funk said, take care of your sats. One day they'll be taking care of you.
Yeah.
I think that captures both sides of the spectrum pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And look, like don't let the fucking garbage and the doubt and all the other bullshit that other people shuffle onto you. Like that one fucking moment of weakness where you're like, oh God, like that will fuck your life up. Like you will panic sell Bitcoin on the exchange, and then you will watch it rise again. And you'll be like, oh my fuck, like I just fucked myself. I just fucked myself because I believed other people's bullshit who don't know a goddamn thing about what's going on. And they have the hubris and the ego to come and be like, magic internet money can't work because the guy at Goldman Sachs said that it doesn't work that way. So you're dumb and need to buy XRP. Like, look, guys, like if you're actually doing your fucking work, realize that pretty much anything that you're going to hear from anybody that's on a mainstream news channel is designed to fuck you out of your Bitcoin. So don't take that shit on you. And I say that as someone who has made that fuck up and has deep regret about it. And all that I can say is that I see those scars that the honey badger gave me, and I need to lick them. That was a good one that I forget who said it. It's down deeper in the chat, but you said
that's great.
Honey, honey badger leaves scars, and it does, because honey badger don't care. It will fuck you up just as much as it'll fuck anybody else up.
Yeah,
as you deserve.
Yeah, everybody deserves a little bit of that, right?
You learn not to fuck with the honey badger at that point. You respect what it's doing, and you let it do its thing.
It's kind of like
respect
a fiat,
the honey badger.
It's like a fiat exorcism. Like it's painful, right? Like you've got to exorcise the demon. You got to get that shit out of you. But like it's a violent ordeal to get that out of your system. I wanted to everybody's got their Bitcoin pain story, and I've got a couple, but there's one I wanted to highlight from the beginning of my Bitcoin journey. And I wouldn't say that I regret it, because I learned a lot from it, and it helped form my mentality moving forward. But back in the day, back in 2014, before I started the channel 2 years prior, there was a company, it doesn't exist anymore, but they basically paired people who wanted to buy Bitcoin with people who wanted to be able to pay bills or purchase things with Bitcoin. And so it was kind of like a market where it's like, I want to get this thing and I want it for a 5 or 10% discount. And somebody was like, I will buy that thing for you, and you pay me in Bitcoin minus 5 or 10% of the fiat price, because I'm getting Bitcoin from you, non-KYC. And so this company ran a contest, and they were like, make a video about why you love Bitcoin and submit it. And whoever wins the contest, we will pay your bills for a month in Bitcoin, or we'll give you enough Bitcoin to pay your bills for a month. And we want you to document it either using our service or any other means necessary to cover those bills. And I submitted a video and I won. And so for the month of December 2014, I had my bills paid by this company. They said, here's the Bitcoin, document your process. And so I did a number of things. I used their service. I used other things to try and cover all my expenses. The amount of Bitcoin that I received that I subsequently obviously had to spend on bills was 5 coins. So in Canadian dollars, we recently hit $100,000. So 500 grand on my bills for the month of December 2014. So, you know, I laugh now, but like I'm crying a little bit. But like again, this is the reality. Everybody, every person in Bitcoin in perpetuity moving forward will have this. Harkening back to the topic earlier that I was talking about, where MADEX, I was saying that you're saying, I hate it when grandparents gloss over, oh, I used to pay a quarter and go to a movie, and now it's $15-$20 or something. It's going to be the opposite, but that will be a very positive thing to hear. You'll be hearing, oh man, my bills for the month of 2014 in December were 5 Bitcoin, and somebody will say, holy shit.
What we're really trying to drive home here to anyone that's listening is that 5 Bitcoin that Ben's talking about is 0.005 Bitcoin right now. Like you're living through the same fucking mistakes. So all you have to do is just fucking stop making those mistakes. You know, don't put more into Bitcoin than you need every month, and make sure you never touch the Bitcoin that you do buy.
Yeah. And furthermore, to the point where you said people giggling through that are glossing over the scale of theft that has occurred in the future. When people go, oh my God, this is how much it was back in the day. Like that will be a grand recognition of the wealth that was created and the efficient allocations of capital that have come since then, and the incentive structures that have been set up in and around people realizing, oh, this is going to be worth more later, so I need to allocate it appropriately. Do I really need this? Is this a quality product? Is this going to meaningfully improve my life over the next epoch or two versus saving? And these are the mannerisms and the way that we live. That's how it's going to change. And that, again, that will be a celebration. It will be a little bit of mourning on the part of the person that's saying it, but for society as a whole, those stories, rather than being dystopian as fuck, will be an absolute celebration of, hey, we're moving in the right direction. And now only this amount of sats gets me the same. I am richer now than the people that came before me. So, yeah. Anyways, Erik, I'll toss it to you if you have additional thoughts there, and then we'll get Dr. Bitcoin and we'll start to round out.
The only thing I really want to say is, you know, like, also tread the middle path. Like one of the things I did early on that worked out really well is like make your projection for like where Bitcoin will hit in the next bull cycle of, you know, say like 150 or something. As you stack away, like set aside a chunk that like when you hit that price point, cash them out and do something really nice for yourself. Like the point of that savings is to have the life that you want. And if you know, if you've always wanted to get a sweet motorcycle or take a fishing trip to Alaska or whatever it is, like figure out, hey, like when it gets to 150K, that'll be some small portion of my stack. I'm going to cash out and give myself this big reward because I fucking drugged myself through the grueling bear market. And furthermore, I didn't fucking panic or do any of this shit. I set my shit up ahead of time so that when it was time to sell, I did it. And even if it rockets up to 500K or whatever, you'll be able to say, you know what? I didn't cash out more than I wanted to. I got the thing that wanted me to be able to accelerate my own life in the way that was meaningful, and that was worth it. And there's a number of coin that I dropped over the course of my journey that, because I set it aside that way and I knew that it was still going to rocket upward, I felt comfortable with sacrificing that part just because I needed to do that for myself. So I think that's really important, that you're just considerate towards yourself and, you know, tread that middle path. Make sure that your savings and you're not fucking around with it, but also don't be flippant and buy a bunch of stupid fucking garbage because you got, you know, antsy at some point in time and wanted to spend some money.
Yeah, just respect it, but also understand that you're gonna fucking die. So balance that. That's it. It's you know, don't go into the ridiculous and don't go into the ridiculous. Just find whatever the sweet spot is for you. Your life is gonna end. What's it gonna have been for you? And also, what can you secure in the process and drive into the future? You have to balance the both. The extreme hodl is just totally ridiculous, and the extreme spend is totally ridiculous. It's like, find the groove for you that works, and just as long as you're saving every month X amount, like, you'll win no matter what, no matter how small the savings are. Because again, the story's all repeated. If in the early days you saved 1 Bitcoin every month, how would you feel now? So what's the equivalent for us now? If you save 0.001 Bitcoin every fucking month, no matter what, and you never fucking touch it, and you shut the fuck up about it, you're going to be able to do what you want to do. And also, you're just building that fucking wealth. I don't think anyone really grasped how fucking extreme it's going to go when it finally does.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's again, there's a very simple formula to success, and that is provide value for others, spend less than you earn, and save in money that nobody can print. If you can do that, you're gonna be fine. And I'm gonna toss it here to Dr. Bitcoin for a final word on this topic, dude. Whatever brain dump you have, lay it on us.
I'm actually going to echo what Erik and MADEX said here and just reframe it in a different way. I think ultimately, when you look at Bitcoin, when you look at fiat, and when you look at money in general, it's important to realize that ultimately money is a tool, right? Money is a store of value, a medium of exchange, all these different characteristics that it holds, but it's a tool. Your most valuable asset at the end of the day, your most valuable commodity is time. How you choose to spend your time is the most important decision that you make in life. Money will give you the tool to be able to spend that in a way that gives you influence and that gives you the ability to control more than you could without it. Bitcoin in particular gives you the ability to do that, relatively speaking, compared to fiat, much more than you can ever imagine, because we're in this stage of adoption. So when you look at Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin you own, the amount of Bitcoin that you buy, the amount of Bitcoin that you hold, realize that ultimately you can't take it with you. You can pass it on, which is admirable. You can spend it frivolously, which is not recommended. But what you should be doing is thinking about how you're going to influence the world around you. Are you going to build a business? Are you going to create beautiful things around you? Are you going to write wonderful works? Are you going to teach others? This is what you can do with value, with money that you accumulate. And I hope that everyone that's listening appreciates the fact that they're able to influence the world around them more than they ever could on a fiat standard.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Gentlemen, I have to get to dad duty. So with that, I just want to say I love each and every one of you for the own unique perspectives that you guys bring. And I look forward to the next time I see each of you in Meet Space and get to embrace you in a meaningful hug.
Hell yeah, man. Erik,
Thank you.
thank you for being here. I very much appreciate
you.
it.
All right. Appreciate you guys too. Be well, and I'll see you in Meet Space sometime soon.
Cool. Later, man.
Peace.
Sweet. All right. Well, gentlemen, the time has come to round things out here and say our farewells. Before we do, one way I like to end each episode is just do a quick round of any quick final thought that you might have, anything that you want to sum up. But more importantly, if you have a recommendation, and that recommendation can come really in any form. It could be as simple as a little piece of life advice that you think might be useful. It could be a website, an app, a book, a device, whatever. Anything that you think is useful to somebody watching this right now. So I'll formulate here and give you guys a moment to stew with that. I mean, my final thought here is I loved this conversation. This was great. This was everything I hoped it would be. So many good rabbit holes, so many little like nuggets of knowledge. And you can see the accumulation of experiences amongst you gentlemen and Erik that are just shining through to help the next era of Bitcoiners navigate this kind of crazy transition from fiat to Bitcoin. And I think my final thought here really is that each epoch of new Bitcoiners is going to have it better and better than the last, because the cumulative knowledge of those that came before them will be used to build rails and educational resources and things that help them learn about and avoid the pitfalls of those from epochs past. And that's what I've seen. And I really notably saw it moving from the, say, 2016, 2017 epoch into the 2020, 2021 epoch. And that was with things like the Bitcoin Standard and a lot of the work that Francis Pouliot has done, and a lot of the work that, again, like the folks that were able to distill the information in and around why Bitcoin stood out against all of the other bullshit that we've seen. And what I saw in the subsequent epoch was people coming to crypto, quote unquote crypto, and quicker than I had ever seen before, honing in on why Bitcoin only and actually having a good understanding of it. And I hadn't seen that before. I hadn't seen that from 2016 all the way up to 2020 and 2021. And it was because of the works of the people that came before them that helped them on that path, rather than having to piece together themselves. It was neatly put together in a book and offered up in a service and offered up in a device that doesn't host shitcoins, right? Like all of this stuff has helped people hone their skills and figure out what the hell is going on, and do away with the trash that they don't need to waste their time on. And so this next epoch, the people that come to Bitcoin during this will be better off than the ones that came before them. And with that, we'll be able to expedite the speed with which we build quality things to help the next generations. And that's bullish as fuck. So I'm very excited about that. In terms of recommendations, I think my big thing here is stay curious and keep learning. In particular, keep learning the tools. You don't need to always change what you're doing with the tools that you're using in terms of using and securing your Bitcoin, but you should be curious and tinker with new things. Again, we get into a mindset often where it's like, I learned a couple of things, I'm pretty much good to go. But then you don't touch anything else. And so like a lot of like OG Bitcoiners never used Lightning. And I'm like, holy fuck, it's 2024. You've never used Lightning. You've never like touched a Lightning transaction. And to me, that's wild. But also I'm like ingrained in, I have to teach people how to use the next thing. So like it makes sense. But if I could say one thing, stay curious, keep experimenting, be willing to try something and experiment and kind of see where it's at. You don't have to use it daily, but having that mindset will at least keep you on top of things so that when something does indeed become very relevant, you're already quasi familiar with it, and it's easier to kind of just transition to using that tool if it becomes ubiquitous. So yeah, that's my piece of advice there. Dr. Bitcoin, I'll pass it to you. Any final thoughts, recommendation? Go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and actually build on what you just said and say that I think this is the optimal time to be involved in Bitcoin. I think there's been enough of a path laid out by all the pioneers that have built before you, and enough of a prospect of the future where if you were to come in right now into the space, I think you can feel confident that you'll get the support you need from the people in the community and the encouragement to continue to build something and learn something and continue to grow. What this space has shown me in the last couple of years since I've been working in it full time is that the people that are in this space are a very special breed. They're people that are willing to take on a challenge. They have the courage to fight for their convictions, and they have the perseverance to really fight through a lot of things that are working against them. And when you get to meet people like that on a consistent basis, it's very hard to not be inspired by that and to push yourself to grow. So if anyone is listening that is kind of on the outer edges of the space, I would highly recommend get involved in your local meetups, get involved in the BitDevs, get involved in any type of open source contributions that you can. These type of things will help you grow. They'll help you experience something that you haven't really experienced in the fiat world, and they'll help you build on your own character beyond your own abilities. So I highly recommend people get involved with their local communities, the BitDevs communities, the local meetups communities, so that they can start to experience what it's like to really be a part of this space and to really start to grow and experience what it's like to find the best version of themselves.
Perfect. Perfect. MADEX, I'm going to toss it straight to you. Final thoughts, recommendations. Go ahead.
I guess one that has been in my mind lately a lot is that people are so traumatized from how fiat has fucked up money and money conversations and the act of making money. And I just encounter so often, and in fiat world, I don't mind, but in the Bitcoin world, it really irks me. This sort of uncomfortable feeling around making money, charging, pricing, setting some sort of income mechanism. And it really upsets me, because if you just ignore all of fiat and you go to the hard money universe and what we're trying to build with Bitcoin, the most honorable and excellent fucking thing you can accomplish is to have a fair exchange of value for value, and to have to make a sale of something that is meaningful to someone who needs it, and for them to give something that is meaningful to you in order to provide that service or good or whatever. The transaction is the root of all good. And fiat has really fucked that up, because in the past, before the fiat, the most valuable people were the people who produced the most value. And fiat has completely screwed that up, so that fucking suit hedge fund guys get to drive around in Ferraris and be fucking assholes to everybody. Well, the guy who makes sure that the fucking hydro dam runs and produces power for the whole fucking grid, the guy who is a roughneck sending pipe hundreds of kilometers under the ground to pull fucking oil to power the Ferrari, is fucking shit on. And all these people with extremely meaningful jobs are just treated like shit in fiat society. And it's the most upsetting part of it all for me, is just that the motor of the world is just being pissed on by the people who benefit from it. And this is the change that Bitcoin will bring and the change that hard money will bring. But it's important to apply that respect now. All these fucking suit types that are profiting by being close to the spigot, close to the money printer, and they're sucking off all of that. Just that's not where the respect lies. The respect lies is with the people who drive the motor of the world. And cut that back to your own existence and your own way of life. You have to fucking make money. You have to make an income. You have to produce value, and you have to be paid and fairly compensated for that value. And don't be fucking weird about it. You know if you're fucking someone over in the deal, and you know if you're not. And all over the place in Bitcoin, I see people offering like really amazing stuff that have really good value propositions, but they're scarred from the fiat weirdness around talking about transactions and talking about money, ignoring that the transaction is the most beautiful thing that can happen between people. The exchange of the value is just that's how we have all of this that we live in today. And so I really want just anyone out there who's working on building something, working on making whatever it is you're in, just stop being fucking weird about money and just be okay with getting it. And as long as you know that what you're doing is of value and of service, there's no negativity in that equation at all. Ask for what you're worth, ask for what you can provide, and just participate in these transactions without any of this fiat guilt. And the guilt is an extreme weapon of the fiater because, of course, they just want to theft it all from us, right? And that's why I think we see so much of this crazy stuff happening in fiat, is because a lot of these guys have earned it dishonorably. And so they're very willing to give it away. But there is nothing wrong with being protective of the money that you have worked hard to earn. And there's nothing wrong with accepting money at the market rate for the value you provide. It is not an uncomfortable thing. It is not a dishonorable thing. There's nothing weird about it. Just get comfortable with talking about money, talking about and having those conversations. And this is a big change I want to see in Bitcoin everywhere. Ask for what you're worth, and know that what you're asking for is what you're worth. And if you're above, the market will tell you, and if you're below, the market will tell you. And you got to find that sweet spot, but just reject all the fiat weirdness about accepting capital for your labor, your service, your talents, abilities, whatever it is. And we're all here. I know we like to talk in Bitcoin about oh, well, it's about the fucking money. It fucking really is. That's why we're all fucking here. And yeah, we want to do good and we want to make the world a better place and we want to do all that shit. But at the end of the day, let's be honest, it's for our own abilities to build a solid foundation for ourselves, our friends, our community, the people around us, and to secure that and to build forward. And I would really like to see over the next couple of years, Bitcoiners just being fucking really solid with their asks, really solid with their confidence in whatever it is that they deliver, and just remove this horrible fiat feature that this shadow of evil that casts around money from all the people who have been able to just fucking spin it out of thin air from doing nothing other than fucking wanking the state. So I would love to see that change in the future here.
I think that's an excellent piece of advice. Be confident in pricing yourself based on your skill and your experience. Again, people, I think people get far too timid with that. And again, if it's not a match between the merchant and the client, then it's not a match. But are you going to devalue yourself for somebody that is not in that financial position to afford you? I don't necessarily think you should. You can do nice things for people. You know, if you want to be, if you want to go out of your way to help certain people in certain ways, that's totally fine. But that shouldn't be like your business. Your business is your business. Your skills, things that you've built. Be confident in what you've built, and again, as you said, the market will determine how accurate your perception is. And so, if you
go
ahead.
to the market, go to the market and find your price. We're all seeking truth here. I think truth is really a core of Bitcoin. It's a true record of what happened. So we're in pursuit of truth. Go to the market, find your price. Outside of Bitcoin, market price is the only truth. It's the only truth. So go to the market with what you have to sell, find your price. If you want your price to go up, get better. If you want your price to go down, get worse.
Nice. Love it. All right, gentlemen, that's perfect. Perfect way to cap it off. I appreciate both of you, and a huge hat tip to Erik Cason for being here and gracing us with a multitude of epic rants, which is exactly what I was in the mood for. And I'm sure that's why we've had, I'm looking at it now, that's why we've had somewhere in the realm of 5,600 people that have tuned in over the course of this past 2.5 hours. So with that, I'll cap it here. Again, thank you guys so much for spending your time on getting bullish as fuck on a Friday evening with me. I appreciate both of you, and I appreciate Erik. And of course, you're all welcome back anytime.
Salut. Thank you, Ben.
Cheers.
Thank you, Dr. Bitcoin, for joining us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See you later. All right. And everybody, thank you guys for being here, being in the chat, being on Nostr, being on X, being on YouTube. Again, invaluable. I love that you guys tune in every week and are part of the show. And it does really, really mean a lot. Yeah, this was pretty much exactly what I expected it to be with the guests that were present. And that's enough said right there. So anyways, we're going to round it out here. Of course, thank you guys for being here. Please do like, sub, share, all those things. They help a lot. You can hit up the previously mentioned sponsors in the show notes down below. And once again, I'll mention that, of course, we've got our team over at Bitcoin Mentor. We can help people with one-on-one educational sessions across our team of incredible educators, helping people with self-custody, hot wallets, cold wallets, hardware, multisig, running a node, home mining, you name it, they can help you and make sure that you're doing it the right way. Now, of course, a number of you may need those types of services, so you can reach out at bitcoinmentor.io. But more importantly, there's a lot of you that maybe have your stuff in order, but are going to have a lot of friends and family coming in asking questions, especially in the next year, as Bitcoin seems to be in and around all-time highs and potentially going past that and catching the imaginations of people the globe over. And those people are going to have a lot of learning to do. So if you want to earn sats and allow people to level up their Bitcoining and make sure they're doing it the right way, you can scan the QR code on the screen right now, and this will allow you to become an affiliate of Bitcoin Mentor. And what that does is it gives you your own link that you can share to friends and family. And when you send them to us to level up and book one-on-one sessions so that we can help them through their self-custody journey, you will earn $21, not just the first time that they come, but for every subsequent session they book moving forward. So $21 per booking forever will be yours. And each month you'll get paid out in Bitcoin at the end of the month. So I encourage you all, scan that QR code on the screen, sign up to become a Bitcoin Mentor affiliate, and then start shilling your link. Whenever somebody is curious, you can stack sats while new Bitcoiners stack skills. And so with that, I am out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, wherever you may be. I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.